Hey you guys, it's Torrence. I'm back with part 2 of my 3-part series showing my entire makeup collection. Right now, I just want to say I truly apologize if the footage for this video is absolute trash. This is my very first time attempting to record like this. And at the first time I was trying to do it, the battery died on me, so I was attached to a cord. For the second video, it does appear that we do have battery, so I should be able to have more mobility and things like that. Hopefully I have better focus on this camera here because, baby, I don't know how videographers do it, but we're going to give our best. Right now I'm going to be showing you part 2 of the collection, which is my personal collection and things that are in drawers and in cabinets, things that are just generally not out on display. For part 3, we'll show you everything that is out on display. And I hope you all watched part 1 of that video. It should already be up. I hope you all are subscribed to the channel because you still have time to enter my giveaway. And I'll make sure I leave that linked above. But right now we're going to step into my makeup room. And I just want you all to just understand, one, we all have the things that we love. And I understand my makeup collection may be larger than most. But not only is it something that I enjoy using and collecting, it is something that I also used to use to make a living. So although I no longer freelance, I still have a large collection and I do YouTube now, so I'm gonna probably amass a little bit more over the next few years. I do just want to state right now my lighting is off in here because I have moved the lights to make things easier for me to record. Normally the way that they would be set up, everything would be in place, but to make sure I have the best lighting while recording the things we're looking at, I wanted to go ahead and get that set up. So we can go ahead and step into the makeup room here. And this here is what we will step into. I did not mean to press that like that. When I first come in, these two shelves right here is what house my brushes. This is what I call my little Sephora. So we can step in here, get a quick view. Although we're not going to be looking at these items today, these are what I just want to show you what this room looks like. And as y'all see, Mariah that made a debut. Well, not in this video. All of you who noticed when she made her first one, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you saw that. Over here is the makeup area that I would have on the right of me when I'm recording. Normally when I'm doing my makeup, I'm sitting right here in this chair. Girl, I done broke and cracked my old laptop. I done had this thing since high school and she finally done broke on me, but she gonna keep pushing through. We only need her as a monitor, so we gonna hold on to her. But as you can see, those are my favorite makeup brands and the large collections that I have. But all of that stuff will be shown in video 3. I also have my area over there where I like to label things, keep notes. I have my things in case I want to mix loose powders and things like that because most powders don't come in an exact shade I need. But for today's video, instead of starting over there, we're going to be over here, honey. We're going to be in, let me see if I can step back and get me a view of this here. In my complex, we have these cabinets that are built into the wall here. And there are 3 cabinets here, and I have them set up with this like this. And so on the inside is where we have our makeup. And we're gonna just open these 3 up. Sis, you know I'm wrong for this. So we're gonna start off here. Baby, this right here. All right, so there are 3 levels to this area here. This is the very top shelf, the first area. This here is where we keep backup makeup. Inside of these cabinets, up here, let's see what we have. We have some Urban Decay All-Nighter. They had the summer solstice on sale, so it looks like I have 2 of these here, as well as 2 from the Urban Decay it says the heavy dose collab, so I got those from the new palette release. So it appears I have 4 bottles of All-Nighter left. This next set of things is MAC Fix Plus. I have a bottle of cucumber here. The Prep and Prime from the Fruity, I don't know why I can't speak right now. I have the Fix Plus from the Fruity Juicy collection, as well as the Cherry Blossom here. I more than likely just grab these for the limited edition bottles, not necessarily for the scent. It's just that I love collecting those. Right here we have some extra primers. I have the Clinique Super Primer here. We have a Becca Evermatte, so I have a backup of that. Right here on the left hand side, see if we can get a view of those. We have some MAC lip pencils here. We have some ABH brow whizzes. We have some brow definers. I have them in different shades. Well, let's see. You have some dark brown. You got some chocolate. You got some granite. So we have several of those right here. We have a Lancome Montour Big mascara. So I have that there. I have my Seals Booster Mascara Primer. So I have a backup of that over here. Let's see, what is this if I can back up? This is a NYX lip pencil, so I have a backup of that one here. This is a Maybelline concealer, so I have this. This is a Nars concealer in the shade Ginger, so I have a backup of that, as well as ABH glitter adhesive. What else do we have? A Laura Mercier powder, we have a backup of that. A Nars loose powder, so we have this. We have mascaras and primers. It looks like that big one right there in the back is a backup of the Fenty Beauty Gloss Holiday set from last year, so I have that. Right there is a Maybelline Master Prime, so I have backup of that. That's what I use every single day. This here is the Lancome Montour Big. I have another one of those. I took the small one out to keep that in rotation for my daily use. We have a Nars Sheer Glow foundation. I have a backup of that. The Milk Kush mascara. They sent me like 4 miniatures of that, so I have those. The Essence Lash Princess, so we have that. A Sacha Buttercup powder. This is a Becca Light Chaser highlighter. This is in the shade Champagne Dream Flashes Bellini. I have a dual lash glue here. And these are some MAC lip glosses. I absolutely love these, but they were limited edition. That first one here is Lily's Motor City from the Aaliyah collection. And these two here are Strip and Dip. My absolute favorite MAC gloss was Strip and Dip. This was, what collection did that come with? I'm not sure exactly what the collection was, but once I realized what that gloss was and I absolutely loved it, I purchased like 5 of them and I was never going to get rid of them. So they were just going to have to deal. I had to have them. And in these 2 bags here, these are lip bar bags. These are backup brushes and backup makeup things. And more than likely, I'm going to have to take these down and put them to the side so we can see what's inside. So give me 1 second. I'm going to turn the camera off and I'll be right back when we pull this over to the side to get a check inside the bag. All right, so now we're back and I'm inside the bags now. So we're going to go ahead and take a dip and see what's all inside here. For these backup items, we have a Morphe and Jaclyn Hill brush. This is the JH01 powder brush. This here is a Sigma F82 brush. So we have that here. This here is a KVD Precision Shadow Powder Brush. This here is a Fenty Beauty. Let's see, what does she look like? What is the name for you? Okay, this is a Galaxy 2-Way eyeshadow brush. So that's what this is. It's a backup Fenty Beauty brush. This right here is just a roll of receipts that I used to keep. When I bought the MAC brushes, when they went on clearance, when they finally discontinued them, I wanted to make sure I saved my brushes in case I needed to sell them to clients. I had proof of authenticity that they were the actual real brush. We also have an e.l.f. buffing brush. I remember it was hard to get this brush. This was a little bitty rouge gift from Sephora. It says, what year is that? 2018. So give me 1 second, see if we can get this open. Alright, finally got that brush open, and as you can see, it just came with a small card. It was a small synthetic brush. It has a very tiny handle on it that stops right here. So this was just a small free gift, and actually I received 2 of these. So I have one that's already out on display that's over there, but we're not going to get over there today. We can put this one back. And this, we also have the If or Ulta Velvet Luxe LBD Foundation Brush. I absolutely love this brush. Right here we have a KVD Vegan Beauty number 75 brush. I believe this is the eyebrow brush. So we have a backup of that. We have a pair of tweezers from Tweezerman. I absolutely love these, and I think these won the Allure Award that year, so I grabbed these. These were a Nordstrom exclusive, I believe, and I have one pair that looks just like this that I use, but I wanted this pair that I never had to. A couple of other things we just pulled out. Let's see. We have an e.l.f. spoolie. I keep several of those on stock just because they're affordable. Morphe M421 brush. No, that's a ABH brow brush. I have one on the shelf that I use currently, one that I keep here. What are you? This is a Sigma brush. Let's see, what's the name of this? This is the P82, the precision round brush. Little small round kabuki brush. I love using him to blend out concealer underneath the eye. This is a Ciate London mirror. I keep this here because I used one and I wanted to make sure I had one that I never got damaged. So we have that. This is another P82 by Sigma, so we can put him down. This here is the Morphe M421 brush. When I first found this brush, it was always sold out, so once I get it, I bought backups to make sure I never run out. Anything else in here for us? We have a backup Fenty Beauty number 160 Face and Body Kabuki brush. We have a backup of that. Another e.l.f. spoolie. And it looks like it was one more thing in here. One last e.l.f. spoolie. And you can see they've even switched packagings on them. So still have them, still love them. So I'm going to go ahead and just dump this all back up in here. Okay, in this next bag, these are natural hair brushes, so we're definitely going to be more gentle with these. Starting off with the Tom Ford ones. These first two here. This is the Tom Ford number 13 eyeshadow blend brush. This is a backup of him. This is a backup of the natural hair, let me see, the number 11 brush, the eyeshadow blend brush. So we have a backup of that. That's these two. For this one here, this is the number 6, the bronzer brush. No, the number 5, the bronzer brush. So we have a backup of that. This one here is the number 6, the cheek brush. And those are the 4 natural hair Tom Ford brushes I have. I am not taking those out of packaging so they can get new, honey. They will not get exposed to the elements on my watch. Next in this bag, we have our MAC and Mariah Carey backups. I believe I showed all of this in a previous video as well. I know this is the Extra Dimension Skin Finish in My Mimi. This is the blush in Sweet Sweet Fantasy. This is the 239 eye brush that we have here. These are the natural lashes from that collab. I have a pair that I can use, but I have this as the backup. These were the more dramatic lashes. They are both a wispy style, but one's fuller than the other. So we have those. Oop. This was the liquid eyeliner. I have one that I already have that I can use. This was the backup of the natural hair brush. Once again, all of these items are backup, so I didn't need to open that. This here is my Wayne Goss Holiday brush. I believe this is from Holiday 2018. Never used this brush, and I was so blessed to be able to pick up a second one before it sold out. Because if I never got the second one, I promise you I'd never used that first one. This here is a bundle of Wayne Goss brushes that I have as backup. I remember when he first switched over from the natural brown hair brushes over to the white hair brushes, I had to hurry up and get backups of those before they were gone. And I can go ahead and see if I can pull these off and see what brushes I have in this bundle. See, take them off for 1 second and already done messed up. Give me 1 second. Okay, and we have several different brushes here. Let me see. This one here is the number 2 brush. I remember this here. Oh, this big one here. I think this one is even discontinued now. I'm not sure. But this one doesn't even have a number on it. But he fans out like a really thick fan brush. I have that one. Is this another airbrush that I've been looking for? I think so. I've been beating myself up for not buying a backup of the airbrush, and it looks like I have one right here. I have push liner brush, so I know I have one of all of his eye brushes. I have one here of the brow brush, so this is just a bundle of backup Wayne Goss brushes that I keep on stock just in case I ever run out or mine get damaged and I can't afford to replace them. I already have them here. Absolutely love them. Plan on keeping those. This next small bundle is MAC brushes. Most of these look like synthetic brushes, but they are eye brushes. You can see you have a mini eyeliner brush, you have a concealer brush, you have spoolies, but these are all MAC brushes, and although they are still available, at one point in time we thought MAC was going to discontinue them, so I made sure I grabbed extras of these, but we still have those available. This bundle here, honey, this is MAC eye brushes that I thought were going to be discontinued, and they honestly did. So now that I have them, I am truly obsessed. The fact that I have this one here, let me see if I can get the handle off of these. Honey, you have no idea what some people would do to get their hands on one of these. An original MAC 217 brush, honey, and I have several of them here. I can see at least, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, if not 5 or more. I have the pencil brushes here. Yeah, the 217s for the taper brushes, the 219 for the pencil brushes, the 239s for shader brushes, honey. When these went on half off, I had to have them, especially this one here. This is the 252. Best shader brush I've ever used, honey. I absolutely love her. And this one here, what are you? The 242 for the inner corner and brow bone. This 242 brush is absolutely amazing. But you see I have several of these for backups because they have been discontinued, and I'm absolutely so happy that I borrowed the money that I did to get these, because now I'll never be able to replace them, but I'll never ever have to. What else we have in this bag? Let's see. Oh, this here. It's another set of Wayne Goss brushes. More than likely, this is a complete eye set if these are all bundled together. It was just my way of knowing if I pull this whole bundle out, I have one whole set of his eye brushes. So more than likely with these, I was trying to build another set, and I probably just didn't sit down and break them down. But I can tell this here is just a reflection of what's already over there. So we have some more of those Wayne Goss brushes to put aside. This large bundle here is MAC face brushes. So more than likely we have a powder brush, a blush brush, a contour brush. But these are all brushes that are from MAC that are natural hair, been discontinued. Let me see if we can separate these. And let's see what we have here. Is that a 227? Yep, 227. I used to love this for taking and dusting powders away from underneath the eyes. A 133, I still love this, to use this to put powder down underneath the eye. The 129, a large powder brush, honey. At one point in time, I just couldn't believe that they made natural hair brushes this big, so I had to absolutely have it. This brush here could be used for blush and for contour. This is the 168 brush. Absolutely love this bad boy. Have that one here. Actually, I got two of those there. And this appears to be a 129 short handle. And I remember I couldn't get a hold of another 129. And so, is that what this is? Yeah, see, this is the 129 with the regular handle. This is the 129 short handle. And to me, as long as the brush head was the same size, I didn't care. At half off, I wanted it. They sold it to me, so I ended up getting those. See if we got anything else in here, Torrence. Oh, another MAC brush. See, this is another MAC 129 here. We have a large MAC 129 that came in that brush. And this, oh, a Morphe M158 brush. No, a Morphe M518 brush. Not sure how this Morphe brush got in here with all these discontinued ones, but I guess because she natural haired and she a backup, she in here, so we got that one. And there's something else in here. Oh. see what we have. We have a couple more Morphe brushes. We have the Morphe M506 brush. This is a little tiny blender brush. So I guess that's how she got in here because she natural hair. We also have Morphe M124 brush. So when I was looking for a dupe of the MAC 242, I needed to find something. So I guess that's how she ended up here. And this here is a backup of my Sonia G Blender Pro. Don't have many backups of Sonia G brushes, but I apparently have one in this bag here. And so this is my backup natural hair brushes here. And because I want to make sure I put these up properly, I'll be right back after I tie these back up into their bundles and put them back in the bags. Okay, so now I've put those things back, and that is everything that is here on this first cabinet of this first shelf here. So then if we slide over, you can come over here, we'll see that this is the second rack here. This isn't makeup related, this is just skincare stuff. As you can see, I have my cotton pads here. Once those run out, I'm going to be switching over to the makeup eraser ones that I have that I showed you in the first video because I'm trying to be more sustainable. Unfortunately, the Clarisonic has been discontinued, so there's no more brush heads that I'll be able to purchase. So once that run out, it'll be gone. This bag here is just full of disposable lip gloss wands and eyelash wands and pencil sharpeners. So there's really no need to pull that down because I'm telling you, it's literally lip gloss wands, eyelash tweezers, and Pat McGrath lip things because I purchased so many of her lipsticks, her eyeliners and lip liners, and it came with those. That one is Nars, but all the rest of those are Pat McGrath. This here is Clinique Take the Day Off Balm. I absolutely love those, so I have them in miniatures as well as full size because those are what get the job done for me. Over here on the top row, it's just mostly skincare items. Almost everything here is Paula's Choice. Right there is my prescription for my tretinoin because I do use Retin-A. Right here is some face masks. Almost everything is Paula's Choice. I do have the Paula's Choice toner here, but whenever I'm running low on funds, I don't mind using the Neutrogena toner. So I have this here. That bag back there in the middle is empty airless pumps for mixing foundations and things like that anytime they don't mix. So with those not being makeup and me not wanting to reach up there, we're not going to. If we come back over to the first cabinet here, I have these notes up here. At the top, I have Paula there. Anytime I do my makeup, I always try to remind myself that skincare matters more than makeup. So I have Paula Be Gone there. I absolutely love following her research on skincare ingredients. Right here, I have my makeup enthusiasts. These are the makeup artists that I loved and support and followed their work before I got into makeup. On the left side, we have the man. Unfortunately, Wade Bandy has passed away, but we still have Francois Nars and Mario Derivanovic. And on the right side, luckily everyone is still alive. We have Miss Alexis Vogel. I remember watching her infomercials growing up as a child, so I had to actually put her on here. Oh, my hand is getting shaky. We also have Pat McGrath, the divine, the mother, honey. We absolutely love her. And Miss Mila Morales, honey, if you don't know about her work, honey, you are sleeping on her. She is absolutely stunning, and I cannot wait for her to do her first master class. Right here is just the notes of the way that I have my lashes. When I first put them up there, they were not lined 1 through 5, and I put them on a different tray and didn't put them in order. So this just reminds me of what lashes I have on the tray that I'm going to show you in the third video. This here is just a phrase from Francois Nars. It says, when it comes to blush, how and where you apply it is more important than what color you use. Before I got into makeup, I absolutely loved blush more than I loved eyeshadow. So I have a huge collection of blush, which you're going to see today. Right here I have what it says. Makeup is the movement of color expressing happiness from the depth of the heart by Gualpe. I heard this quote from her when I purchased my MAC and Gualpe collab, so I absolutely loved that and wrote it down. Right here I have the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not sure exactly who did that. Who said that, but I keep that there just to remind myself not to compare my looks, my channel, my anything to someone else. Just do the best that I can and enjoy my success and not to worry about anything else. And this here was an old note, honey. When I first got into makeup, it was so hard to try to figure out what finishes meant because different companies had their own way of doing things. And because MAC was the first version of eyeshadows that I really got into hardcore, I needed to create my own little chart to remind myself exactly what I was working with so I knew exactly what was going on. And here, this was my way of keeping notes, so I know if I ever picked up a finish of eyeshadow, I knew exactly what to work with. And so I just always keep these here. I just never take them down, and I don't see any reason to. But then we get over here, and this here is the second shelf. This rack here does have three, and there's one there on the top, this one here on the second one, and then that one there on the bottom. But we're going to start right here on the second. Okay, so I got tired of holding that camera, and I was figuring my arm was going to be tired throughout this entire video, and I was never going to get any good views or anything like that. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to start over. I'm going to start off back here. This is the Marc Jacobs The Wild One palette. I have this one here. Give you a view of that on the inside. That's what she looks like. Next up, we have the Scandalous palette. It comes in packaging that looks like this. Absolutely love it. This is what the inside of this one looks like. It's a neutral palette. Next up, we have the number 750, the Editorial. I got this simply because it was a green palette, and you know I absolutely love my green shades. Although these used to be $49.50, I believe these do go for half off right now. So we have this palette here. Next up, we have our Air Blush in the shade 508, Night Fever and Hot Stuff. Pop this open for you. This is what she looks like. I had a second one, but she broke and crumbled, and once you had to repress it, it no longer had those double textures there. It was just one solid color, so I ended up giving it to a sister after, well, no, I ended up giving it to my sister after it was repressed. This here is the Marc Jacobs Guilty Highlighter. This is from this year's holiday collection. They did do this shade here for last year's collection, but I ended up missing out on it. This is what she looks like. And you see I saved that little plastic piece just because I was so happy to finally get it. Back here, this is the Kevyn Aucoin Nude Pop eyeshadow palette here. I got this simply because it was such a refreshing taste of things to see someone do something different. Not only was it purple, but it was also a cool tone palette. I had never seen anything quite like it, so I absolutely had to have it. And I think this is the only palette that I have from Kevyn Aucoin. On the side of that, I have my Dior highlighter. I absolutely love this highlighter and will never get rid of it. I bought this on the recommendation of Milo Morales, and then now they discontinued this compact. Although they do have this highlighter still, it comes in a plastic one and no longer in this metal one. So I'm glad I have it before it sold out. And as you can see, I used to absolutely adore it, but I don't use it quite as often as I used to. Next up, we have the Bobbi Brown Caviar and Rubies eyeshadow palette. I bought this simply because I believe I saw a video from Desi Perkins where she used this palette, and the only reason I wanted it was for this simple shade here. This shade in the middle is absolutely beautiful. It is called Gilded. And you already know, shades with gilded or gilt that are gold based, I absolutely love. And although this is a beautiful formula, I truly bought this entire palette just to have that one shade there. And I love that formula so much that when she came out with it again in this palette here, this one is called Capri Nudes. You can already tell which one I went it for. This one here. This bottom shade is that same formula. It is the Sparkle eyeshadow formula, and this is the shade Oyster. I love that formula so much, I bought a whole nother palette that featured it, and I wanted just this one shade, so you can't tell me nothing about it. I had to have this as well. Next up is my only item from Chanel. This is the, I can't even pronounce this. We're going to call it the Blush Duo Tweed Effect Blush. I have it in the shade 110 Tweed Cherry Blossom. This is what the compact looks like. Chanel is far too expensive for my budget, but I wanted to make sure I get one item. And to me, this Cherry Tweed blush was it. It looks just like the fabric, honey, and I am absolutely in love with it. I use it any and every chance I get, and it does have some very micro sparkles, silver sparkles to it, but I absolutely love this blush, and so I have it, and I'm never getting rid of it. Next up is the only eye quad I have from Dior. This is the 5 colors quad here in the shade 657 Expose. I got this one simply because it was the only one that had a green color to it. Let me try to keep those brushes intact. But because green is my absolute favorite, I got this for that. I don't even remember what this formula is like. I just remember knowing I spent too much for it, and that was the reason I was never going to let it go. So I still have this one here. Next up, I have the only eye quad I have here from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the original Rebel palette. She still has a palette right now in her line called the Rebel palette, but it is much more subtle shades of green, which truly broke my heart because I wanted something to be loud and over the top if you're going to call it a Rebel palette. And this is what these 4 colors look like. I absolutely love this palette here. To me, I just really wish she would bring it back because I'm like, honey, don't call yourself a rebel if you're trying to stand in. I mean, if you're trying to blend in with the crowd and everything else, honey, you want to stand out, and this is what that did. So I'm absolutely glad I grabbed this before she discontinued it. This here is the only eyeshadow palette that I have from Burberry. This is in the shade number 28 Gold Shimmer. The fact that they put this in a golden compact was already a reason that I wanted to have it. But then you opened it up, and this is an eye quad. This is an eyeshadow quad full of 4 golden shades. When I first got into makeup, I was trying my best to keep things neutral and keep things simple. And to me, it just didn't seem to get any. I'm trying to make sure I keep it in focus. And to me, it didn't seem like you got any more luxe than Burberry when it came to their makeup packaging. Although the formula is nice, I don't have many more of them simply because of the price, but I absolutely love this one here. And I do have a couple of singular items from the brand here. We have this here. This is the eye color in the shade 102, the shade Pale Barley. And this is just a singular shimmer quad here. It was nothing special. It just came in a holiday kit where it came with like a lipstick and things that you could try. So you didn't get to choose this shade, but because I have it, I'm never letting it go. I also have another eye color. This is in their wet dry formula. This is in the shade number 001 Gold Pearl. It came in their normal packaging here. But on the inside, this shadow is just so beautiful and so wet looking. Like, oh my goodness, honey. If they've ever created a product that was absolutely beautiful, it was this one right here. It just looks wet in the pan from here. Absolutely love it. This here is a cameo blush in the shade number 2 Light Glow. Once again, it's the same normal packaging that they always use. But this here is a blush that may not necessarily be my skin tone color, but because I don't have many from them, it's one that I'm going to keep. Once again, this is something I didn't purchase individually. It came in a kit where you didn't get to choose. It just came with this shade, so I have that one. And the same can be said about my second blush, even though I don't consider this a blush shade on my skin tone. This is shade number 11 called Dark Earthy Blush. Yeah, you can see that's not going to be a blush on my skin tone, honey. Maybe if you're much lighter than me, but this will more than likely be an eyeshadow or a face powder. But I have this one here too, and I'm going to keep that. Next up, if we were to step over, we have right here, we have my Sigma eyeshadow palettes. I have 3 of those here. The first one here is the Sigma Enchanted palette. It has a nice reflective purple packaging here. This is what this palette looks like on the inside. Absolutely beautiful color story here. I believe I did do a tutorial on this one here. I'll make sure I leave this linked above if I actually did use this on a video. Next up is the infamous Cor de Rosa. I know for sure I did a tutorial on this, and Sigma even retweeted my picture on their Twitter page, so I was absolutely ecstatic when that one launched. This is what this palette looks like. So as you can see, very vibrant, very colorful palette. I absolutely love this one here. This is what I call what the Modern Renaissance should have been. But I absolutely love this one. I don't use my Modern Renaissance. This last one here is the Sigma Untamed palette. And although I had every plan on absolutely doing a look and a video with this palette, it just never came around to it. So I never got the chance. So I'm gonna just still show you all what this looks like. And you can see these are my type of shades. Matte greens, shimmer greens, black, grungy colors. This is the one I probably would have used more than likely more than any of them, but I just never got the chance to. And although these are the only three I can show you right now, I do know that I have their new Warm Neutral palette coming through, as well as their Stephanie Lang palette coming, so I can show you those later on. Oh, and I almost forgot, I have these two right here. Oh, silly me. I have two other Sigma palettes that I forgot to show you. The first one is this one here, the Sigma Viper palette. I bought this on recommendation of Jordan Liberty. He did an absolute stunning look on it, so I had to have it. And I've never used this because I'm peeling the sticker back now. This is what this one looks like here. It only has the two matte browns and this matte green here, but I wanted to test my creativity, but I've never gotten the chance to use it, but we do have it. And the last one here is their original Warm Neutrals. And I was too through when I realized I bought that new Warm Neutrals palette, and it's the exact same shade with two new shades. But they said they've upgraded the formula, so we ain't quite as salty, but we still feeling a little bit upset about it. And we have tried this one here for, so we will be able to go ahead and test it against the new formula to see if it's actually better, which in my opinion, I think it may be because I love their new formula. My bad, honey, that was the phone letting me know what time it was. But I'm gonna test this out against the new formula because I've tried this one before and I absolutely love the formula on their 14 pan palettes. So hopefully the colors are really similar, if not exact, and upgraded, but we're gonna be able to test that out as soon as those two arrive. These next few are Dose of Color eyeshadow palettes. The first one here is the Gold is the New Black highlighter. I absolutely love their Fuego highlighter and I use it on a daily basis. So I wanted to test out this formula here for their new highlighters. And this is the permanent range of them, and I'm here to let you know. Somehow their permanent ones are just chucked full of glitter that just slides everywhere. I am not the biggest fan of this formula here, but those limited edition ones, baby, get on those because those are absolutely beautiful. These, they can go ahead and keep. But these here are my Dose of Color Mickey and Minnie palettes. This is the Mickey palette here. I've never actually used it. I just wanted to have it for collection purposes. And this is what the inside. This is what the inside looks like. It has 6 eyeshadows and a highlighter. Absolutely beautiful, and it does remind me of Mickey, so I had to get that. This one here is the Minnie palette, and to me that is just too cute how they did the bow like that. Like, come on, honey. Y'all knew how to pull our heartstrings with this collection. And this time they gave us 6 eyeshadows and a blush. And now we have both face products to go ahead and do a complete look with this palette. But I'm absolutely loving this here. Once again, I bought these just for the collector's purposes. I've never used either palette. And truth be told, I don't even have plans on doing it anytime soon. But we do have them here. The next ones we have, let me pull these up. The next few items we have are those limited edition highlighters that I was talking about. If you see the ones that are wrapped up like this, like the Friendication palette, go ahead and get those, sis, because those are beautiful. This one here is a little lighter than my complexion. This one is in the shade Mirror Me. That's what she looks like. She has a nice pink hue to her. Absolutely love it. This one here is a little darker than my complexion. This one is called Chasing the Sun. Once again, another beautiful formula. I absolutely love this one. This is the one that I believe they should make full time, but I don't run the brand, so I can't help them make decisions. For eyeshadow palettes, underneath those, I store these two. This one here is the Ice Cream palette. When I first got it, I was truly excited to see everything about it. But honey, every time I open this, I am truly uninspired by it. The colors just do nothing for me. I am not a fan of pastel colors. So although she looked cute, she just doesn't look like anything I ever want to wear. So I've never tried this palette and she just sits here. The next one here is the Dose of Colors Hidden Treasures palette. I absolutely love the Dose of Color formula, but I never tried this one either because this was probably the last one that I purchased. This is what she looks like, and I remember everyone clowned this palette simply because of how the textures, simply because of how the shades are laid out. This can drive many people crazy. They just want things aligned in a normal direction, which probably can increase the cost of the palette, but I waited until it went on a half off sale to purchase it, but I still haven't used it yet. But considering I've never been disappointed by an eyeshadow palette from Dose of Color, I don't expect to be disappointed by this one. Next up from right here, I want to grab just these first two palettes first. These are all the Dose of Color 5-pan palettes. This first one here is the Cutting Edge palette, and I know I've done a tutorial on this. This was the first time they did matte and shimmer in one palette. Normally they were all matte and you had to pair them up, but I have a tutorial on this palette here and it was absolutely beautiful. Probably one of my favorite looks to date on my channel. This one here is the Smoky Soiree, and I have a tutorial on this one as well. It was absolutely beautiful. But this one, you are going to want to take your time and be very careful with this because these shades are dark and pigmented and you do not want to risk messing up your look. But the formula is absolutely beautiful. It's blendable and it lasts all day. And I was absolutely grabbing these when they first launched because I had the other first 5. For the next few Dose of Colors, I just pulled them from the bag to make sure I didn't risk dropping them. These are all the 5-pan palettes where the 5 pans are all matte and then you had to pair them up with your own shimmer. So what I did was pair them up with a Block Party shimmer color from Dose of Color as well. These all costed way too much to purchase individually, so I went ahead and made sure I got them all on the half off sale. This first one here is the Baked Browns. This is what the Baked Browns look like on the inside. Absolutely beautiful and neutral. With this palette, you don't have to worry about doing too much or being over the top. You know you'll be professional. Everything will be nice, soft, and subtle. So I absolutely love this one. And I will pair that one with this shade here, Leave Me Alone, which is a black and green shade, simply because greens are my favorite. So if I was going to have to stick to a neutral palette, I was going to want to have it with my favorite color. This next one is called Blushing Berries, and this is probably the one that I use the absolute most, simply because it has that matte black. The drama that you can bring with this palette was absolutely amazing. You could keep it subtle, but most times I didn't. And this is my favorite shade to pair with that Blushing Berries palette. This shade here was called Sizzle, and it was absolutely beautiful. It had these silver sparkles in it that reflected the light so amazingly. Oh my God. I always got compliments anytime I wore this shade. This next palette is called Marvelous Mauves, and as you can see, these have some purple hues to them. And because they're not quite as jewel toned as I would prefer, I haven't actually worn this one yet, but I made sure I grabbed it because I wanted to have the full collection. The shade I paired this one up with is this shade here, My Jam. It's a very dark purple shade here, and I haven't used this one yet, but I'm quite sure I will one day. This palette here is called Pretty Cool, and I know I've done a tutorial with this one here because I love cool tone shadows. This one here is for if you want to keep things rather natural but you like cooler tones, I would go for this. If you prefer the warmer tones, I would go for the warm browns. And this is the shade that I pair with the Pretty Cool palette. This one here is called Tell Me More, and I grabbed this one simply because I believe Pretty Cool was a nice one to use for my mother, and with teal being her favorite color, this is the one I grabbed for her. This next one here is called Sassy Siennas, and because I'm not the biggest fan of orange shades, I haven't actually used this one here, but I wanted to grab it for those warmer days in the summer in case I needed something to add with that warm browns palette. But I absolutely love the color story. I will give it credit for that because these do have some shades that lean a little peach, so that's absolutely stunning to me. And the shadow that I got to pair with that is this one here called Encore. I wanted to make sure I had something that was suitable for it. This is something that leans neutral, so I can use it with any of the palettes, but because it has a much more orange tone to it, it went really well with that Sassy Siennas palette. Out of all of the 5-pan palettes, this is the only one that I heard that they said was limited edition, and this was the very first one that I grabbed from the Ulta store. This one here is called Snow Angels, simply because all of the other ones were rather neutral, and this one had pigment and it had pops of color. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of blue, to see that a brand was willing to play with colors is what caught my eye, so I absolutely had to grab this one. And after trying this one, I fell in love and grabbed all of the rest of them. And because that color palette was so over the top, I wanted something rather neutral and safe that can go with any color. And of course, it came out to this one here, which is Shall We Dance. Shell is their best-selling shade across the board. So it was no shocker that they made a block party shadow named after that as well. So this one goes with that one. And before we slide over to the next row over here for the second row, I'm gonna go ahead, cut off the camera, and we'll just shift things down a bit, and I'll make sure I put these palettes up. Right now we are over on the second part of this cabinet here. Once again, there are 3 parts to it. I just showed you all what was on the edge right here. These are the Sigma palettes. This is the Viper and the Warm Neutral right here. You can still see those Dose of Color eyeshadows right here that I just showed you. So we've just slid over a little bit further. And the first 2 that we have right here are Tarte eyeshadow palettes. This first one here is the Tartlet. This is the original OG, honey, the all matte version. She comes with 12 matte shadows here. This palette does lean a little more cool tone, so if you're not a fan of that, you may not like it. But this formula is absolutely amazing, and I use it all the time, so I had to go ahead and keep this. This next one here is the Tartlet Toasted palette. I believe this was the 3rd one of this series here, and I absolutely love this one. This one was technically considered a flop because it didn't do so very well in the sales, but that was no way they were going to keep me from it. I absolutely had to have it. And just looking at it, you would think, Torrence, you probably wouldn't like that palette considering how orange it leans. But it's something about the formula that just does it for me, and I've never had a bad look from it, so I absolutely keep it and enjoy it. And that Tartlet Toasted has like a sweet vanilla chocolate smell to it. I absolutely adore it. It smells amazing. And speaking of chocolate, next up we have the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. I only have 2 palettes left from Too Faced because I decluttered them all. This is what the chocolate gold looks like on the front. I remember one year my sister and I bought this for each other for holiday, so there was no way I was going to get rid of it. And funny enough, I've never used mine because I've always used hers. Anytime I wanted to use this palette, I was always at her house, so we've both used hers. Neither one of us have ever used mine, so I'm never going to get rid of it. And one day I may just go ahead and do a tutorial using this palette. This here is the other Too Faced palette that I have in my collection. This is the Just Peachy Mattes, and this here was such a hit. I don't see how they managed to mess this launch up, honey. Not this particular launch, but what I'm saying is the ones after that, if they would have just stuck to this format and this formula, they could have just had a bestseller every time around. Like, look at that color story, honey. All of these were mattes. This one here, Peach Sangria, was sort of satin, but you could use it as a matte, and trust me, honey. The colors were beautiful, the formula was beautiful, the packaging. They could have just stuck with this and did a cool version, monochromatic versions, but it just seemed like each one after this was a complete flop. And so I'm absolutely glad I have this one here. This just reminds me of better times from the brand. Back up here in the front, we have some Makeup Geek palettes. All of these are discontinued. Oops. All of these are discontinued palettes or discontinued shadows from the brand. This first one here is just a trio of leftover shadows from when I wanted to create my own palette here. This one here, this is a trio of discontinued shades. I believe they still have some of these, just not in this circular pan format. This is the shades Pumpkin, Corrupt, and Smurfs Up. So I just have these just because I just didn't want to get rid of them because I didn't have them anywhere else in my collection. So I had to keep those. This palette is full of individual shadows that I got from the brand. They were all being discontinued, so I got them on sale. And left to right on the top row, we have Limelight, Jester, Blew My Mind, Secret Garden, Venom, Chit Chat. And on the last row, we have Stardust, Prism, Nostalgic. Absolutely love this formula here. And probably my absolute favorite palette from the brand. This palette flopped, but I absolutely love it. And I'm telling you, the new palette, top notch from the brand. I don't see how it flopped. Probably because it was just so basic. But these basic shades here, I have rearranged mine. It's the reason why I love it. I know I can wear this anywhere, any time of the day, any place. Whether it be a professional setting, a first date, going out to the club. I know I can wear this palette and it's going to be absolutely stunning. And I am so upset that they discontinued this palette. This one, although it flopped, it should have still just stayed in the line, even if they just did it every now and then. Absolutely love this palette. And before I show you those shadows, I want to show you I always keep any personalized card or note or something that I get from a brand. I remember one time I placed an order and they sent me this card here. It says Torrence XOXO. Thank you for choosing Makeup Geek. We hope you'll love your new goodies. Have a fabulous day, Julia and the Makeup Geek team. I don't know about you, but for me, it's small little things like this that helps me continue on to support a brand. And anytime a brand has sent me a note like this, I promise you I have kept them. So throughout my collection, I'll show you all the notes that I've kept over the years. And the biggest goodies of them all that I have from Makeup Geek is my custom Makeup Geek eyeshadow palette here. I do have a tutorial showing you all the shades in this palette. So if you would like to see those shades and a tutorial using this, I'll make sure I leave that linked above. But I don't want to go ahead and list off all of the shades here when I've already done that. But this is my custom colorful Makeup Geek Matrix palette. Absolutely love this bad boy. Same thing can be said for this one here. This is my custom neutral palette from Makeup Geek. I wanted to go ahead and make sure I had something I can use any day and every day of the week without ever needing to use a matte black. I have a very dark brown shade here and there are only 2 shimmers because I wanted to make sure that I had something that gave me the ability to play with as many mattes as possible. So if you would like to know the shade names in this palette, make sure you check out that Makeup Geek video. This was the custom cool tone quad that I made. I wanted to make sure I can do a cool tone look and be able to go as light and dark as possible as I possibly wanted to. And also have that blue shade there for a pop of color. So I absolutely love this one here. This is a custom trio I made after my niece here. This top shade here is called Starry Eyed, and with my niece being Star, I wanted to put that here. Then we also have these 2 shades here. You have Beach Please for her mother and Bedrock for her father. They're just 2 neutral shades that I had to get rid of and just throw somewhere. And I just made sure I put them underneath my niece because she's the sparkly thing on top. Just a simple neutral duo. Once again, something that you can find in that other video. But I just wanted to make sure I created something quick and fast that I can use and be out the door. And this last one here was just a single shadow. I'm someone who's not the biggest fan of blues, but you all absolutely love them and everyone tells me how well I look in blues. So for a simple one look tutorial, I wanted to pick a matte blue to make sure I had something that gave off a loud statement and was its own entity. Like it didn't need any help, no liner, no anything. It could be a full look. And so we went ahead with this. We have this stored over here because I don't have any more rooms in my drawers, but this is a Makeup Geek highlighter. This is in the shade Nightlight. It's a nice neutral gold shade. And I think I may have tried it once, but I don't remember. So I would more than likely have to try this again to give it a full review. Love this here, just by the color of it, just by the shape of it and the size. It looks like it's going to be really good. And this here is their blush. This is in the shade Summer Fling. And to me, it looks like this is either going to be extremely natural and go on flawlessly, or it's going to be loud and streaky and mess up my look. Haven't tried it yet, but we'll let you know after we do. And right behind those Makeup Geek ones here, we have some MAC palettes. I'm going to grab these 2 here. These were from the MAC Fruit A La La collection. I bought these simply for the packaging and they have the exact same packaging here. It was just that this is a metal tin. It was very rare that MAC did metal, so I wanted to make sure I grabbed that. This one here is in Fruit A La La. And as you can see, it's much more neutral, but it's not why I grabbed it. I grabbed it simply for this one color here. I've never really used much more than this shade here, but because I love that in the packaging, I don't have any plans on getting rid of it. This one here is the one I grabbed to make sure I could use. This one is called Love in the Glades, and with this being cool tone and green, it immediately caught my eye. There was no way I was going to let this go on sale without me grabbing it. So the day that it launched, I had to have it and I absolutely love it. Underneath those 2 is just this palette here. I'm not sure if they even sell this here. They used to be known for their 15-pan eyeshadow palettes. This one here is called the Warm Neutrals. It's a pre-made eyeshadow palette here and it came with 15 shades. Many of these are shadows that you can get in their full-time range. The absolute only reason I bought this palette is because Janet Jackson's makeup artist did a tutorial that I thought was absolutely beautiful, and he used this shade here across the lid, and I had to have it because it was the only way you can get that shadow. And then when I found out this shade here was called Lemon Drop, and lemon is my favorite fruit, there was nothing you could do to keep me off of it. So I grabbed this simply for that shade, but I also love this shade here. Let me see, what is that called? Amber Lights. I absolutely love the shade Amber Lights, but I have this in a full size in loose form. No, not in loose form, in a single eyeshadow form. So there's no need to ever go in here for this one. And also with that is where I keep my Precious highlighter here. This was from the MAC Underground collection where they only did 1,000 of the items. I managed to get box 686 for the launch. And so this is what that looks like. I have no idea when and where I would wear this or what color it would look like in the end, so I've just chosen not to wear it, but I find it absolutely beautiful in the pan. And I just moved the palettes that were just standing right here, and I'm going to show you those. These here, at first, we have the MAC ×9 palettes. This one here is called Tropical, and I grabbed this simply because I'm infatuated with green eyeshadows. So to know that not only does this has greens, but it had yellows and blues to let me create my own custom greens, meaning there was no way you were going to keep me from it. This was limited edition, so I don't think you can get it anymore, but I keep it just for the memories. This next one here is called the Semi Sweet palette. This is also a 9-pan, small pan palette. And I kept this one here just to make sure that no matter what, I always had a palette full of all matte shadows from MAC Cosmetics. Although I generally prefer their shimmer formula, I wanted to make sure that I had something that can complete any look in case I ever had a palette that didn't come with enough mattes. Next, we have a 6-pan palette, and I absolutely love the design on this, which is why I grabbed it. It sort of looks like it's a corset that's engraved in right there, and I absolutely thought that was beautiful. Then to know when you opened it, you had a blue brown and a matte black. That was all I needed to see. Those two shades by themselves sold this entire palette to me. Even though I'm not a fan of blues, even though I'm not a fan of oranges or a fan of blues, this black and that blue brown sold me the whole palette. So I have this here, never letting it go. And then this one here is called Colors on the Verge. I got this simply because of how the packaging was just absolutely stunning. And then the Volux Pearl formula is my favorite shimmer formula from MAC. So to know that on the inside, we got 5 colors that feature that formula. I had never seen them do a palette like this. And although this wasn't a cohesive all-in-one palette, I still wanted it just to make sure I had those colors. And the packaging was just, it was just what sealed the deal for me. Right here, we have another Volux Pearl Fusion eyeshadow trio. This one here is called Cool Companions. And I got this because it was on clearance and it contained my favorites. A black, a green, and a gold. I didn't see anything else I needed with these, and knowing that I got this at a very hefty discount, I didn't mind taking it even though I knew it was being discontinued. This here is the last one from MAC. This is an eyeshadow duo. It is called My Moon. And this one here I got simply because I had grabbed the larger one. This was on sale, and there was no reason why I needed a shimmery white and a matte black. But because it was on sale and I was already shopping and I liked the packaging there, I just had to have it. So we got that one. And the last ones we have sitting right here is these here. These are my Kylie Cosmetic palettes. I grabbed these 3 simply because they start with the letter B and I thought they were just universal ones I could use every day. This first one is the Blue Honey palette. And as you can see, I've rearranged the shades to my personal liking just to make sure that they gave me a color story that I liked. This second one here is the Bronze palette. This was the first one that I ever got from the brand and I absolutely loved it. I used to do looks with this all of the time. It was nice, it was soft and subtle, and it had more satin shades instead of metallic, so I never had to worry about things being too dramatic. This last one here is the Burgundy palette, one of her best sellers. Although I have it, I've never used it, but I did rearrange the shades to my personal liking, and I got it simply because the first 2 I had started with the letter B, so I grabbed the Burgundy just because it did as well. Instead of moving my light right now, I want to try to get as much shown as I possibly can, so we're just going to dip over right here a little bit to make sure it's easier on the next set and grab these 3. These 3 are from Artist Couture, and I absolutely love the Artist Couture formula. And it is just crazy to me that I managed to get this one here. This one is the very first one that they launched, and it actually sold out before I could get it. I managed to just go to the mall and find it sitting on the rack, and I grabbed it. This one here is the Midnight Maven palette, and as you can see, honey, she comes with the colors. And I was too ecstatic to finally grab it because I thought I was going to miss out on a moment, and I was just so hurt that I had his other palettes and not this one. The second palette that he launched is one of my absolute favorites, the Supreme Nudes, honey. If you do not have a neutral everyday palette, this could be the one for you. When I tell you, she leans warm, she leans cool, she'll give you everything you need except a matte black. But because this doesn't have a matte black, this makes sure that things stay neutral, this stays glam, and you don't have to worry about things getting dark or muddy. I absolutely love this, and I have a tutorial on this palette, so make sure you check that out. This palette here was his third and latest release. This is the Caliente palette, and although I purchased this one, I did not get the chance to use it yet. But the colors here, once again, they are bold, they are vibrant, they speak summer, and I really wish I would have gotten into it, especially this matte yellow. She looks like she will give you life, but one day I'm going to be able to go ahead and get into her. This next palette here is my Patrick Star One Size palette. This is the first and only palette launch from the brand here. I've done a tutorial with this palette as well, so make sure you check that out. Although I did do a rather simple look and I went in and used mostly that matte blue, I've always wanted to come in and do an all green look with this palette. Right now, I believe Sephora has this palette for half off, so if you would like to try it, that's why I would recommend getting it. But this seemed like an okay launch to me for the first launch by Patrick Star. I think we're all waiting to see what he's going to bring for that second palette, but I do still have this one here, and we're going to wait for number 2. And this last stack of palettes is going to be a doozy to move over, so we're going to have to do this in bunches. Let me see if we can get this over here. And that's because these are going to be the Sister to Kylie, and these are going to be our KKW palettes. Most of these have been rearranged, but just like with the other palettes, I've done a video on these, so if you would like to see the natural arrangement of them and the shades, just go ahead and check out that video. But I'm just going to show you which palettes I have from Kim. This one here is the KKW and Winnie Harlow palette collab. This is what the inside of that palette looks like. She's absolutely beautiful. We have the KKW Artisan Muse palette. This is what the inside of that palette looks like. This is the original KKW and Mario palette. This is what the inside of that palette looks like. This here is the KKW So Fire palette. This is what the inside of that palette looks like. And the color may shift because this does have a reflective inside. This is the Classic Blossom palette. This is what the inside of the Classic Blossom looks like. This is the Classic 2 palette. This is what the inside of the Classic 2 looks like. And this is the Classic palette. This is what the inside of the Classic looks like. For the last 3 by KKW, we have 6-pan palettes. This first one is the Smoky Volume 1 palette. Looks just like the larger one, except we have fewer shades. These are the inside shades. Once again, everything has been rearranged, but you can find out the shade layout in my KKW video. This one here is probably the one I was the most excited about. This is the Mrs. West collection. These are the shades inside for that palette here. Absolutely beautiful. And this one here is the Glitz and Glam palette. This one was probably the one I was least excited about, but I had to make sure I grab it just because I like the packaging. And I think that's all I'm going to show you on this level here right now. So what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is shut the camera down, and then we'll shift the camera lights over, and then we'll be able to show you the third area on the second row. Alright, so now we're back. We're here on the third section of the second shelf here. Over here on the end, right here is where we ended off on the KKW palettes. So I want to go ahead over to the right on this end here because we've already seen all of this. And the first up are 3 items you may not be able to see right here. These are influencer palettes, so I'll make sure I show you these. This first one here is the Pure and Raw Beauty Christie palette here. I still have not used this one because I made sure I saved it. I wanted to try to get it. But then once the restock came, I didn't get my video out in time and it sold out. but this palette is absolutely beautiful. We have here a colorful side, absolutely stunning. You know that's what caught my eye. And then to know you came in and you gave us the neutrals, honey, so I can have looks for every day. There was no way I couldn't pick this up. Not only to support Christy, but to support the beauty behind this palette. It had to be mine. Next up, we have the Midas Cosmetics Smoky Glow palette. I absolutely love her channel. And when I first got this palette, I accidentally gave it to someone else. I meant to give them a different palette, but I didn't have the heart to take it back. So I waited for it to restock and managed to get another one. I think the first one she got was the one that had the misspelled word in it, so mine doesn't have it. And I'm like, oh, I could have had a moment in history, honey. But I have this here. It still has the plastic on it, as you can see, because I've never used it. Wait, let me take that plastic off. But I have this palette here, and I literally just took the plastic off to make sure that it's not blinding you. I haven't used it yet, but I do have plans on using it. And I just really cannot wait to try this palette out, simply because it has lots of purples in there. And I'm loving the fact that that orange shade Jump Cut doesn't come off as a straight up orange. It looks like it has much more of a peachier shade to it. So I'm going to go ahead and try this out one day. This here is the last palette that was in that stack. This is the Tati Beauty Texture Neutrals Volume 1 palette. And I remember when this palette first dropped, nobody could get a hold of it, honey. It was gone. It was sold out. It was just so hard to get it. And at first, I didn't use it either, because as soon as I opened it, I thought it was broke and I was scared to get things all over the place. So let me show you here. And I thought it was broken, but come to find out, the matte black here had crumbled on one end, but still at least 80% of this shadow was still intact. So there was no need to actually send it back, because I did not want to risk not having it. So I have this palette here, and I never used it because I thought it was all broken, but it was just that one shade. So one day I will be testing this out. And right behind those, we have these here, the Lunar Beauty palettes. This first one here is the Strawberry Dream. Look at that packaging, sis. Like, get into it. I am absolutely loving it. And on the inside, yes, nice, beautiful, bold colors here. I did my one eyeshadow tutorial here using this blue shade. You all absolutely loved it. I love the Lunar Beauty formula. And right now I'm waiting on that new Eclipse palette to come in the mail, so I can't wait for that. Can't show it to you because it hasn't arrived yet, but I do have this one here. Also have the Moonspell palette, honey. There was no way he was going to do a Halloween themed palette and I not grab it, especially considering the fact that this has one of the prettiest packagings I've ever seen on a palette. Like, oh my goodness, Manny did his thing with this. And then the colors on the inside are even more beautiful. A row of purples, a row of browns, a row of greens. You had me. There was no way I was going to let this launch and I not grab it. So I'm absolutely ecstatic I have it. And I believe I also did a tutorial on this. So make sure you check that video out. So the next few palettes you see are these Huda Beauty ones. I have the full size here as well as the miniatures here. I have all of the full-size palettes that have launched since the Rose Gold Remastered. I didn't grab the very first one. And for the miniature palettes, I have every single one that they've released except for 2 of the Haze palettes. Those 2 are currently in the mail on the way here as well. I grabbed those during the Rouge sale, but they just still haven't been delivered. So we'll go ahead and pull these out. I want to be careful because Huda has a very soft formula and I would just be devastated to drop one of these palettes. First up is the last one that I used on my channel. This here is the Naughty Nude palette. I have a tutorial up on this one here. This palette caused a lot of controversy because everyone was talking about this one shade here, Slippery. I'm here to let you know the formula is absolutely beautiful on all the shades, but this shade Slippery here, honey, they could have went all the way without. There was no need to add this here. Next up, we have the Mercury Retrograde, and although I've never used this here, I'm completely surprised because this has some duochrome shades, and with that being my favorite finish of eyeshadow, you would have thought that was the first one I would have jumped on. And you would think I would have been all over this. Colorful duochromes, jewel tones, but I haven't tried it yet, but I think she's going to be absolutely amazing because I haven't heard a bad review of it from people that I trust. Right here we have the Huda Beauty New Nude palettes. I still have not tried this one, but this is probably the one I'm most excited to try out of all of them from the brand, simply because the Naughty Nude had me in love and I didn't think I would like soft colors like that. And look at her on the inside. Not only is it neutrals, but it has some mauve shades, and the fact that we have two glitters in there really catches my eye. I know many people don't like glitters, but I absolutely love them and I can't wait to test this out. Next up, we have the Desert Dust palette. I think of all of her palettes, this is probably the absolute most popular one that I've heard people know and use of. Almost all Huda fans that I know have this palette here. And when you look at these shades, you can understand why. Warm neutrals, pop of purples, it's just the perfect combination to sell to the public because warm neutrals always sell and purples just always seem to drive people crazy. Especially my clients, they always love the shade purple, but I've never used it and one day I will. And out of all of Huda's larger palettes, this is probably the one that I use the absolute most. This is the Rose Gold Remastered. I absolutely love this palette and it contains my favorite shade from the brand. When you look at these, it is so rosy toned here. I absolutely love it. You have all these shades of gold and rose gold. The fact that we have a matte black here is what caught my eye. But my favorite shade is this one here, Blessed. I absolutely love this shade and I would pay to have this in a single. This is my favorite Huda palette. Use it all the time. Okay. For these here, I want to try to pull these down and break them over to the side a little bit. First, because I do not want to risk dropping these bad boys. With Huda palettes, we tend to get very large 18 pan palettes or these small compact 9 pan palettes. This one here is the newest ones that they've released, which are the Haze Trios, which is the Haze ones. This one here is the green one called Khaki. I grabbed this first in store because it was green and greens are my favorite, so I had to have this one. They do, I believe, have a purple and a pink one that's out. I've already ordered those, but they haven't come in the mail yet. But I wanted to show you the packaging on this one. And this is what the shades look like on the inside. As you can see, those metallic shades look so foiled. I cannot wait to get into this, but I'm waiting on the other two before I crack them all open. Before those haze stacks, she did the pastel stacks, and I have those three here. This first one is the Pastel Lilac. And you can see what those shades look like. Nice, soft purple shades, absolutely beautiful. The next one here is the Pastel Mint, which is a green one here. You know I had to get that green one. Although I am not the biggest fan of pastel shades, I love the Huda formula and I'm a completionist, so I had to have them. But the thing is, I heard bad reviews about the pastels, but I just caught them on sale and I have them. And just any shade of green is going to catch me, so I absolutely had to get this bad boy. This last one is the Pastel Rose, and it's much more pink tone. Just the completionist in me had to have it. And that is what she looks like. So we have our Pastel Rose here, and I'm absolutely in love with the way it looks, even though I've never actually tried it. The three we had before that are the nudes here, and this one was a very popular hit because not only did everyone like the new nudes palette, but with these, they seem to be more catered to individual skin tones. Instead of trying to get a palette that was universal, you can get one that was more flattering for you. So first up, we have the Nude Light palette. And this one here has a very beautiful light beigey pink packaging. And when you get on the inside, you see these nice, soft, beautiful neutral shades. But it has that beautiful pop of color there for that purple in the top middle, just in case you wanted to have a little edge on your look. Next up, you see we have a nice, beautiful warm brown here for the Nude Medium palette. It lets you know that this is going to be a little bit deeper than that first one. And look at that. Nice, soft, neutral, everyday friendly colors that still have a slight pop of color so that you can step out of the box without taking things too far. And baby, look at that nude rich packaging, honey. This looks almost like a chocolate bar that you can bite into, honey. It is absolutely stunning. And with colors like this, honey, everyone was absolutely in love. You knew you had some nice deep shades without having any matte blacks. And it was absolutely beautiful to know that you had a palette that dark girls could use and not have to skimp over any of the shades. Next up, we have the Neon Obsessions palette here. These were another set that didn't get the greatest reviews. It seemed like people either absolutely loved or hated them. But when you're going to tell me neon and you do one that's green, you knew I had to be up on it. And once you get it on the inside is where I was upset because for me, The fact that this was called the Neon Green palette, it's like 2/3 of this palette is not green or brown. So that's what made this a flop, but because I'm a sucker and wanted those top 3 shades, I went ahead and got it. But I never did a review on it because I didn't think this was ever going to be as green as I wanted it to be. Next up, we have the Neon Orange palette. And I'm not the biggest fan of oranges, but once I saw the colors on the inside and I'm a completionist, I just went ahead and decided to get it. And just like with this orange one here, there are plenty of orangey shades in here, but you have so much pink in there and you have that shade that looks like it could go in the green one. I would have put this shade here in the green palette, but I wanted that shade to help complement my green obsession, so I went ahead and just grabbed this one as well. And to me, this is probably the most cohesive one of them all. But I just grabbed this simply because I'm a completionist, and just neon pinks, it seemed like there was enough of those shades in the other 2 palettes. And once you get in here, you realize, okay, these look like this could have leaned a little more purple. So you could have just did a purple, a pink, and a yellow palette and called it that instead of the color that they did. But you don't hear too many people talking about them. But I have them and I'm gonna use them hopefully one day before they go bad because I haven't touched any of them yet. Next up, we have the Gemstone collection, and this was the ones that I was probably most excited about just because I love jewel tone colors, and there was no way she was going to do monochromatic palettes and I not get up on them, so I'll show you these here. This first one here is the Topaz Obsessions. It's an orange palette, and although this isn't my personal favorite, the color story on this is absolutely beautiful. This can take you to the drama zone if you wanted to, but this is something that can also be used as a neutral palette. You can use this every day and not have to worry about things being over the top if you use it right. But I'm telling you, I had to have it. It was just part of the gemstones. I wanted it. It was coming home and I got it. This one here is the Sapphire Obsessions, and I had to get this one just because Sapphire is my gemstone. I also remember grabbing the Blue Beauty Blender when I grabbed this one here. So there was no doubt in my mind that I was bringing this one home. And the main reason I grabbed this, even though it had so much blue in it, is because it has this yellow shade here. And I knew I could mix any of those blues with that yellow and create my own custom green. So although this is a blue palette, I tend to use it as my green palette, but don't tell nobody. This here is the Ruby Obsessions. And although I don't use this too much, it is a very beautiful palette. And with this palette here, the shades are absolutely beautiful. It's just red just isn't my favorite color. I really have to be in the mood to want to wear a red shadow. So I have it. It is beautiful, but it's not something I tend to wear on myself. Now, if there was any one palette you didn't have to convince me to get, it was this Emerald Obsessions. Soon as I saw that they did a green palette, there was no doubt in my mind I had to have it. And although this is truly a beautiful color story, with all the other palettes, it seemed as if you got at least 3 matte shades that fit that color story. And I really wish we could have gotten 3 matte greens for this. We have 2 matte greens and a brown, but it seems like anytime we have to do a green palette, they always play us and put us a brown instead of giving us all the greens that we would like. But this is an absolutely beautiful palette and I wouldn't trade it in. This one here is the Amethyst palette, and because it was purple, I absolutely had to have it. At one point in time, I didn't like purples, but I do now, and I knew this would be a hit with the crowd. Anytime I wear purples, everyone stops me and compliments me, so I had to go ahead and get this. And look at those colors here, honey. All of them are purple. They have, except this one here, but this one is such a beautiful inner eye corner highlight that it'll go with any of the looks, so I absolutely had to have this, and you could not get this one away from me. For the last 6 by Huda Beauty, these were the original Obsessions. These were mostly the neutral palettes that you can use to build up your everyday makeup collection. These were the big hits that got the Obsessions started, and it seemed like once these were a success, they just kept coming out with more and more of these. And honestly, these are the ones I think they should keep in stock, but it does seem as if they're getting rid of all of the older ones and bringing in newer ones. This first one here is probably my absolute favorite of them all, the one that I've repurchased the most. I keep one of these in my freelance kit as well as one here by myself. The one downstairs in my freelance kit has been beat, battered, and bruised. But as you can see, honey, this one is brand spanking new because I was going to make sure before they discontinued these. I had one for my personal collection. There was no way I was going to let them get away with discontinuing this and not having it for myself. This next one here is called the Smoky Obsessions, and this is a cool tone smoky eye palette. The fact that it was cool tone and it had a matte black, meaning I was guaranteed to grab it. There was no way they were going to keep me from it. And just looking at this, you can see how smoky and cool tone this is. The only issue that I had is although these two colors do come up differently, I really wish they would have put either a gray or a much lighter or much darker brown in here. I just didn't see the need to have two colors that were that similar in the same palette, but this formula is absolutely beautiful. This here is the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions, and although I'm not a biggest fan of purples, this palette here was absolutely beautiful when I tried it on my friend. She absolutely loved it so much that she went out and purchased it herself. And as you can see, it's just nice neutral shades that can be worn every day. It has a nice berry wine color to it, so you don't necessarily have to be just regular neutral and brown. This does give you a little pop of color and warm things up. I would really enjoy wearing this as a nighttime look, not necessarily on the daytime for me, but I'm someone who's used to wearing purples and blues in the daytime, so who am I to judge? This here was the Gemstone Obsessions. This was an all shimmer palette, and of all of the palettes, I believe this one did the least, simply because most people didn't want an all shimmer palette from Huda. To me, her shimmer formula is so beautiful. I think this would have complemented any of the other palettes, but I can understand why this one didn't sell quite as well. And just looking at this palette, you can see which shade I've used the absolute most. Of course, that green one. But because these had so much lighter shades in it, I really didn't step into this palette too often. But the formula was absolutely nice every time I did use it. Next up, we have the Huda Beauty Electric Obsessions. This one here was more like a neon palette. It had very bold, vibrant pops of colors. And many people weren't comfortable with that, especially coming from Huda, who tends to use more neutral shades. But as someone who loves color, I was all for it. And this is what this palette looks like. As you can see, we have multiple pops of colors. Personally, I wish we could have gotten two different pinks, but I can understand why they put those there because one is much more of a transition shade. But I would have taken a green over two pinks in this palette. But then again, it wasn't my choice. But the formula seemed okay to me when I used it, but I haven't used all of the shades yet. And this was another palette that didn't do too well. This was the Coral Obsessions. Many people, after purchasing the Warm Brown Obsessions, didn't see much variety into getting this one here. And with this palette, the colors just didn't seem quite as pigmented, so it just seemed better to just go ahead and get the Warm Neutrals palette and keep it moving. I personally never used this one. It looks like I did try to use these two shades here, but kept it going, but I don't remember anything great about it, so more than likely, it wasn't much to remember. Now that we finished with Huda, we have a few palettes left. These two were palettes that I purchased from Hot Topic, and I absolutely purchased this one here just for the packaging. As you can see, this is the Clueless palette, and I did not care exactly what the color story was on the inside. All I saw was this little notebook and this little pen brush, so I had to have it. And once you get on the inside, you see I still have the plastic on this here because I've never used it, and I really don't have plans on using it, simply because I don't want to risk being disappointed by the formula. I got it for a nostalgia reason, and that's why I have it, so that's where we're going to keep it. This next palette is a palette that unfortunately made it to one of my top 10 ugliest lists. Although the packaging is absolutely beautiful, and that's why I got it, especially for my girl Angelica right there. The color story on the inside is just not cohesive at all. The formula is good, each individual color is good, but there's just no full look that I see from this palette, and for that reason I put this in my ugliest top 10 palettes list. But for the kid in me who remembers all of these cartoons, I just can't let it go, so I'm going to hold on to it. But I have this here. This is the Nickelodeon eyeshadow palette. Absolutely love her, never getting rid of her, even though I can't get a full look out of her. Right behind those two are my JD Glow eyeshadow palettes. I have 4 palettes from them, but only 3 of them are kept in this cabinet here. The first one here is the Christmas Morning palette. This one I believe is relaunching this Christmas, but I got it the first year that it was launched. This is what this palette looks like on the inside. As you can see, those shimmers are absolutely metallic and blinding, honey. I did a tutorial on this palette here, and I was so happy that I received it. I also have here the Vintage Rose palette. Absolutely love it, would not want to get rid of it. The color story was so beautiful to me and so original. I had never seen anything like it. And it was like, come on, honey. Soon as I seen these colors online, there was nothing you could do to keep me away from it. I absolutely had to have it. And although I use this, I don't use it nearly as often as I used to, but I cannot wait for next spring to get back into this palette. For this last palette here by Give Me Glow, this was an empty magnetic palette that you can get from them, and I filled this up with 12 custom shades that I absolutely wanted to use myself. Many of these shades have been discontinued because they do seem to discontinue a lot of their shades very often. They're a brand that seems to have a lot of limited edition items, so if you see something from the brand you want, I recommend getting on it as quickly as possible. And this is what the palette looks like on the inside. As you can see, one half of it is more cool tone neutral. The other half is a lot more green. It's more like a Juicy Olive palette to me 2.0. They did a Juicy Olive palette that I thought was absolutely beautiful. So I went back in and bought as many green shades as I could to complement that. And I have these here. And I'm going to tell you the name of the shades left to right. Starting on the first row, we have on the top row, Glazed Turkey, Money Green, Make It Rain, Lemon Lime. On the second row, we have Gravy, Pale Green, Lime Money Green, and Sunny. And on the third row, we have Leggings, Deep Gray Green, Two Moods, and Patty. And I absolutely love this one here. It's my own custom one, and I was going to do a video showing you all this one, but I wanted to make sure that I showed off my entire collection now. And if you would like to see a tutorial on this, just leave me a comment down below letting me know. And over here, I have this MAC bottle that's inside of here. This is full of my own custom tinted sunscreen. So this is a mixture of foundations that quite didn't give me the coverage I want, plus sunscreen. And I keep it in this cabinet so that it's exposed to sunlight as little as possible. So we're going to move this and put this in a dark place. For the last of the palettes on this row, we have our ColourPop palettes. This first one here is the ColourPop and I Love Sarai collab. This is the Through My Eyes palette. And I believe I've already done a video showing off my entire ColourPop collection. And as you can see here, I rearranged these shadows. I wanted them to be more neutral on the top half here, where I know I can get a quick every day-to-day look. On the bottom half, I wanted my more colorful shades just in case I wanted to step outside the box. But I absolutely love this palette here. This is one I don't think they should ever get rid of. It's one of their larger ones and one of their most beautiful. Another larger palette that I've done a video on is this one here, the Mulan palette. I absolutely love this one here. And just like with all ColourPop palettes, I've rearranged the shades to my liking. And if you would like to know the rearrangement, you can go ahead and check out that Mulan tutorial palette there. But this one here, I truly believe they are going to discontinue with this one because it hasn't been selling like the others. So if you want this one, go ahead and grab it. This was the palette I was truly shocked to not see a restock on because this is the one everybody was going crazy over. I was so happy to grab the Hocus Pocus palette. I got the very last one at my local Ulta. And when I tell you, out of all of the ColourPop palettes, I think this one has truly shocked me the most. Of all of their colorful palettes, she was truly a beautiful look. The shade names, the packaging, everything about this was A1. You have to get this palette. Now we're stepping back down into things, and this is the Sweet Talk palette. I think if you was to ask the average ColourPop fan which palette do they have, many of them would tell you this one here because it was a cult classic. And when you get inside, you see just how warm and rosy and neutral this is, which was what made it so beautiful for everyday look. And I'm telling you, that Super Shock shadow in that middle on the third, that was the one that got everybody's attention right there. The X's and O's palette. I remember reaching for this one simply because I thought the packaging was absolutely beautiful. I had never seen ColourPop do anything like this. And to know that this was a palette that I could wear around Valentine's Day in the springtime, because this had rosy mauve tone shades that I would like, as well as a shade deep enough for my crease. As someone who has hooded eyes, I am always looking for the darkest color in a palette. The Double Entendre. Not gonna lie to you, I truly got this palette just because they use the word entendre. And I am someone who like, okay, anytime you're gonna play with my brain, honey, I can go ahead and let you play with my pockets just a little bit. And with this being just a nice, soft, neutral, everyday palette, it just made it that much better. And I am someone who absolutely loves this palette, but this isn't my favorite neutral one from the brand. Next up, we have the California Love palette. And I got this one simply because it went on sale, because I am not someone who's the biggest fan of oranges. But every time I saw anyone else use this palette, their look came out absolutely beautiful. And with shades like this, they are neutral. They're basically good for any and every day. It's just I have to get over my fear of oranges. And once I do, honey, she gonna be in full rotation. Now we are getting to the last 5 from ColourPop, and these are their monochromatic palettes, which tends to be their best sellers. And we're starting things off with the Honey palette. This was probably the most difficult one for me to get simply because this one sold out constantly. I don't think I personally have worn it, but I did buy my sister one that I used on her before. And with yellow shades like this, honey, what could you do wrong? Like, this looks like this would be beautiful on, I would say, most skin tones, because you may have some deeper complexions that may not find this as flattering as other people. But this palette here, I can't wait to get into her. Next up, we have the Smoke Show, another 9-pan palette. And I got this one simply because I love cool tones and I wanted something in this format that had a matte black. And so I had to grab this one. And online, this looked one way, but in person, you can truly see all of the different tones in this palette. But if you're someone who does not get along with cool tones, you may not appreciate this. But to have a matte white, a matte black, and more than one type of matte gray, where you have one that's more warm, more cool, I absolutely thought this was stunning, and I thought it was perfect to add to my collection. You already know, just my luck, honey. The fact that I absolutely love greens, meaning when they did a palette and they told me they were going to give us all greens, I had to get up on it. There was no way they could keep me from it. And this is probably this was going to be my favorite one when I first got them. Just looking at it, there was no way you could have told me that this would not have been my favorite. But honestly, it has come in second place for the monochromatic palettes, and I was shocked that it did so. But this palette is absolutely beautiful and one of my favorite green palettes. Next up, probably one of their most popular ones, the It's My Pleasure. This palette here sold out constantly and daily. The day that it relaunched or restocked, you knew you had to get up on it or you were going to miss it. And I managed to finally get mine, and I understand the hype behind it. Look at those purples. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm telling you, this shade here and this one here, you can go no wrong with them. I absolutely love these. But I have a ColourPop Collections video. If you would like to see the shades and the names in which how they're arranged, you can go ahead and check that video out. And last, but certainly not least, because it is my absolute favorite ColourPop palette, it's something about this palette that is so simple, so beautiful, so magical, and I don't see why everybody does not have this palette. The Going Coconuts. I would have never guessed something so basic could be so flawless, honey. When I tell you, I rearranged the colors. She don't look like nothing special, but she is the best palette that I've ever tried from ColourPop. Like, each time and every time, I truly am going to tell everybody, this is the best palette that they have put out thus far, and I absolutely love it. And just sitting here looking at it makes me want to wake up and wear it tomorrow, but I need to finish recording this, and I know I'm not wearing no makeup tomorrow, so we're going to go ahead, put this down here, because I'm telling y'all, get you one. The best one they've ever done. And right now, that brings us to the end of the second row here. What we're going to do is go ahead, turn off the camera, and we're going to shift down to the third row. And that's going to show all of my eyelashes, as well as things that I have in drawers. So we're going to go ahead and shift our lights and our view over, and I'll be right back. All right, you guys, we're down to the next shelf on this same cabinet. Just going to be honest with you, this is an entire different day. I got tired. As you see, this video is already very long. But this cabinet has 9 different areas to it because it's 3 shelves with 3 cabinets. I've already shown you part 1 where that was the backups. 2 and 3 was skincare and things like that, so there was no need to show you those items. I've already shown you 3 through 6, what was the second row. That was all the brand items. It started with Marc Jacobs and I believe it ended with ColourPop. So now we are down to the third row. This is the last row in this cabinet, and this is area 7 through 9. As you can see here, this is my personal lash collection. Most of these lashes are synthetic simply because I don't use lashes that often, and the idea of paying for mink lashes when I'm going to risk getting glue and eyeshadow and all those other things on it, I'm someone who don't wear lashes enough to want to go that far. When I do wear them, I do have a few pair of mink lashes here, which are my Lily lashes. I have my Miami lashes here. These I got in this star shape simply because my niece's name is Star, so I wanted them in this packaging here. I was supposed to wear them to her birthday party, but unfortunately COVID canceled those plans. But my personal favorites from the brand are these here. These are the Doha lashes. I absolutely love these because they have a wispy shape to them. I find that the Dohas are a little more natural than the Miamis. These are much more rounded, much more fuller and fluffier, but I've purchased these many times over. It's just, to me, I'd rather buy a synthetic lash and know I can just treat them like crap. Ain't no point in lying because I don't truly care for lashes. But as you can see, we have a collection of them. Those first ones all the way here in the back, it's only 3 pair here. These first 3 were from the Jordan Woods and Eylure collab. I bought these and bought backups of them. I've already used the backups and I have 1 pair that are in rotation right there on the table behind us. But this one here is in the shade Beach Please. These were probably the most natural of the 3. I have them here in Summer Air. And I also have them in LA Baby. I believe they've since either done another collab or they just changed the packaging, but I still have these simply because I believe she's beautiful. And I just wanted to get them. I don't know why, I just thought they were cute, thought she was cute, so I grabbed them. Sitting right next to that was this here. This is the Too Faced and Jordan Woods collab with the lip gloss. It is in the shade Social Butterfly. I believe I actually bought 2 of these, 1 to use, 1 to keep, just to have in store on those, just like I did with the other ones. Once again, it was just something to buy just to support Jordan Woods, so congratulations on the collab. Still have this one back here as a backup. Next, underneath this little cheap glass jar here is a pair of, what are these? Eylure Luxe Eylure Cashmere number 6 lashes. This is what these look like. I either took 1 pair out or lost or crushed a box or something, but just didn't want to risk getting dust on these. And because I didn't have a spare container or anything at the time, this little glass jar that I'm holding was just easy because this thing fit right in there. Let me see. It just holds itself up like that. So putting that in there just helped reduce it getting any dust or anything on it. I think now that I've noticed it, I have something I can put these in now, but I didn't have anything at the time, so honestly, it ain't bothering me, so we're gonna put it back the way it was. I just went ahead and grabbed the last 2 boxes that were on the side of that, just so we can show them at the same time. This next one is a set of Lash Couture Faux Lash Extensions by Kiss. And the reason why I grabbed these is because they seem to have a slightly thicker band on them, and they have 2 different lengths, short and medium. And I wanted these simply because I really know how to put on strip lashes very easily on other clients, but I wanted to get some practice in doing this type on them. I really didn't get into it enough to want to go ahead and pursue it, but it's still always nice to just have practice materials on hand, and it's also something I really want to do on myself. Putting strip lashes on myself seems to take forever to get them both on. One goes on rather quickly, the other one gives me issues. I just rather put them on other people, but we're going to try these. And these are in the style Venus by Kiss Lashes. This next one is another set. This one has 3 different lengths. It looks like it has short, medium, and long. These are the Eylure Pro Lash individuals. This is a multi-pack. More than likely a CVS or Rite Aid or anything had them on sale. And just like all the rest of these individual lashes, I just wanted to have a variety to test out so I know exactly what style and what company makes products that fit me. I didn't just want to grab what the industry was talking about as the best and then just run with that word. So I'm just going to be showing you different types of lashes. More than likely, I won't have to pick up every single stack of these. I can just pick up the top one and show you, and then just tell you how many in that style that I have. Starting from this right here and working my way over, I'm just going to tell you what all of these are. This one here is a pack of Ardell individuals. It appears all of them are miniature blacks. This is the individuals, and I have 3 packs of this. It says knotted flares. So I wanted to get some that had knotted flares as well as some that were miniature strips. This next style is also Ardell individuals. This one, instead of being miniature blacks, these are short blacks, and I have 3 packs of these. Still sticking with the Ardell individuals, this next pack is medium blacks, and I have 4 packs of these. Next up are the double ups. This has, I believe, twice as many lashes as their normal ones. And for this particular pack, it comes in shorts and mediums. You get 2 rows of each, and I have 4 packs of these. Now we're showing you the lash trios. I have 3 packs of these, and these are just as they say. It is 3 different knots. And I wanted to grab the trios to get more editorial type looks. Anytime I didn't want to take the time to just put 3 individuals on, I can go ahead and use this one trio knot. In this row, I only have 1 of these up here. This is the Ardell Double Up Wispies. I absolutely love these on other people. They're just a little dramatic for me. But instead of being the person who would have to take and glue 2 different wispies together, Ardell has now made it easier to already have them stacked for you. Next up, these, I have 3 packs of these, and you may not even barely see them. These are called Baby Demi Wispies. I absolutely love these for a no makeup day, when I really may not want to go ahead and wear mascara but still want some fullness. These are the perfect lashes for me because I already have really full lashes, but sometimes you just might want that extra little pop. Last up with 3 packs of these are the Wispies Clusters. These look like they are the thickest of the trios. They look like they have a little more fullness and a little more volume to them, but at the base they are still adhered together by a clear strip, so these would be best for a more dramatic effect. Now that I've shown you all of these lashes, there are still 8 different pair back here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab them. It's 1 row here, I'm going to grab 4, and then I'll just grab the other 4 on the other side. For the next 8 lashes, they are all going to be from MAC Cosmetics. They are all either from collabs or from holiday releases that I have. These first 2 are from the MAC and Caitlyn Jenner collection. They're just individual lash strips, and it appears that you have 3 different sizes, the smallest at the top with the largest coming down to the bottom. And I'm not sure if for the collection these individuals had a name, but they do have a small sticker on the sides that says they were the 30 lashes. I figured why get just the plain 30 lashes when I can get them with a limited edition cap for them. So I have that as the first pair as well as the second pair here. For the third pair here, MAC collaborated with several different makeup artists. On the package here, it says it was from the Spring/Summer 2017 collection, but these were with James Carlitos. And when I tell you, the artwork, because baby, that's what the makeup looks like. It looks like pure art. If you've never heard of James Carlitos, look him up. He is absolutely amazing. But these came with 12 different clusters here, and it does appear that it says on the bottom that these were the number 50 collab, but once again, I figured why grab the regular strips when I can get them in limited edition packaging, and especially with it being right there on gold, I had to have them. For the fourth pair here, this is the collab with MAC and the Blondes. It features Philippe and David. I absolutely did not need these strip lashes, but when I saw that they had those studs on them, I figured that was absolutely beautiful. And there are still times when I really wish I would have grabbed a second pair. That way I can go ahead and wear this pair. But if I don't find a second pair, I'm just going to have to look at these. I'm never going to actually try them out because they are so beautiful. And I'm not even sure if the camera's going to pick this up, so we're going to open these up. I'm not sure if the camera's picking up on that, but you see it has rhinestones going around. That's either rhinestones or Swarovski crystals. But those are absolutely beautiful. And I really wish I would have grabbed a second pair of these. But because we didn't, these are just number 4, and we're going to put these back and grab the other ones. For this second row, I'm just now realizing I've been seeing 4 pair of lashes when they're really 5 pair. It was just a second pair of the second set I'm going to show you here. So my correction for saying 4. But for this first pair, it was with the MAC and Nico Panda collab. That was one of my absolute favorite collabs that they did. Although the color stories may not have been my type, the packaging was so adorable. I had to grab those lipsticks, the glosses, and I grabbed these lashes just because I had never seen a pair quite like this from a mainstream brand. You can see there where the edges closest to your natural lashes would have that minty green teal shade. And then the tips there are actually black. And once I saw them, I figured, you know what, Torrence, you've got to have them. It's not going to kill you. They'll be a nice memory, even though I'll probably never, ever, ever wear these. This second set of lashes is the one that I have a second pair of. This is with the MAC and Star Trek collection. I absolutely bought so much from that collab, but over the years, I truly just decluttered it all because everything was in shades that I truly was not going to wear, things I could not use, and I saw absolutely no use for them. But Hey, I spent the money, and the one thing that I did keep were these black and blue strip lashes. Like, get into those. I'm not sure exactly when or where, but one day I'm gonna wear one of these pair, and that's why I have two, so I can always keep one for collector's purposes. And these are called Wink of an Eye, and they are just too beautiful to me. Like, let me see, we gonna open this one too. Like, come on, honey, look at that. It looks like a bird's feather or something. I'm not sure, but I love them, and I'm absolutely happy that I have them. And we're gonna put those back, but before we do, I wanna show you that this first pair from Nico Panda was called Panda Lash. I didn't realize that one had a sticker that had the name of it there. This third and fourth lash was from a matte Christmas collection. This first one that I'm showing you is called number 64 Silver. And this is a pair of crisscross lashes. They don't go in just one direction, and that's why I thought these were so beautiful. And not to mention, they also have like a crystal band right there at the edge, at the lash band. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that, honey. Mac know how to get me. I don't even like strip lashes, but I always buy theirs. And this pair was just as pretty to me. This pair is called 36 Gold. Not only does it have black hairs, but there are also some really light brown ones there that almost appear gold. And it has a gold band near the edge there. Absolutely beautiful. I'm like, oh, I gotta get those. And I believe I have a double pair of both of these holiday lashes. Those will be shown in the next video. But I absolutely had to have these, and these are the pair that I keep in here to make sure I don't even accidentally use them. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these lashes back because this is all of the lashes that I have over here in this area. And then we're gonna switch over in the next area. As you can see right here, these are miniature drawers that I have in here because I ran out of space. You can see everything is stacked up over here, but there was some things like blushes and things like that. They absolutely could not be stacked. So that's what we're gonna get to next. All right, you guys, we're back, and now we are in area 8 of this cabinet here. This is the third row, second section. And as you can see, we have these miniature stackable storage units here. I believe I got these at Michael's, and although 90% of the time when I go in there, they're usually full price, I always just keep my eye out. Every few days, I'll just go in, check, and look at them because it is not uncommon for them to just put these at 50 to 75% off. So I would never recommend paying full price for them, knowing I get every single one of these for at least half off, and I have 4 of them. There are 2 in this one and 2 over in the last one. And right here, the only thing I have next to these are these 2 items here, plus this one. These 2 are Paul and Joe blushes. I showed these in a previous video. I only keep these on display simply because they have cats all over them. If you open this up, you'll see it has a little miniature cat paw here. The blush pieces there have little cat pieces, and I accidentally spilled them last time I tried to show them, so that's all we tipping this over for, because baby, you ain't gonna get me this time. The next blush, and I forgot to mention that first blush is number 105. This blush here is 106. It just has a basic pattern here. Nothing much, but it has the same little kitty paw looking buffer here. It has several different cat pieces in there. I don't want to risk knocking this over, so that's all we're going to show it. And then I also have my MAC Underground blush. I still haven't found anywhere to put this because these little things are absolutely full, and you'll see once I start opening them. This one here is the MAC Underground Extra Dimension Skin Finish in the shade Precious. This is what Precious looks like. It's a extra dimension skin finish with a very either light silver or white spray over top. That may even part of the color of the formula, but I'm going to tilt it down just so you can see just how reflective this highlighter can be. Like, baby, staring at her straight on the blind you. And I've never used it because there were only 1,000 made, and as you can see, I got 686, so I was on it real fast, and it still sold out within minutes. And although we came to look inside of these 2 storage units, I must admit it's going to take a second because there's actually items on top of all 4 of these. So I'm going to pull them down, just starting with this first cabinet, and then we'll talk about them after I have everything down. I've taken everything down, but it all may not be in focus and in camera right now. I just can't get everything in the screen. But right here, it is just 8 loose powders from Nars. I absolutely love the brand Nars. I think like complexion-wise, they were the first brand I fell in love with. But I have many of their products here. And first off, we have the translucent crystal powder. This is their light reflecting loose setting powder. This one here, as you can see, has a very light color to it, and it wasn't quite my color, but it was something I could use on other clients, so I did purchase this one. They later came out with this one here in the shade Sunstone, and although I think it's a tiny bit darker, I would rather use this one alone, but I decided I couldn't wait on the brand to come out with their own version with colors in between, so I took both of these two and put them inside one of my old empty jars. And as you can see right there, I wrote the word Crystal Sunstone on it because it lets me know this is a 50-50 mixture, and I like this color a little more than I like either of the other two individually. So this is just an old empty Nars powder jar that I ran out of product with and created my own loose setting powder from the brand. The next four are their soft velvet loose setting powders. I have them in 4 different colors because I used to like to use one color underneath the eyes to bake and then a different color for the rest of the face. So for the lightest color, I have their shade Beach. This was the lightest color I would use on my skin tone. Whoop, caught her though. This next one is the shade Mountain. This is probably the color I would use most often around the face for myself. This next color here is the shade Heat. I used to use this for the contoured areas or mix it with the Mountain shade for the contoured areas, especially in the summertime when I caught a tan. I used to absolutely love this color. And I have this powder here in the shade Valley because when I first got into makeup, I wasn't 100% sure on exactly how dark I needed to go for contour. So when I bought this shade, it ended up being too dark, but I never took it back in time. I just kept testing it out, thinking it was something wrong with my technique. By the time I caught on, it was already too late to take it back. And it was nice that I didn't take it back because when it came time to freelance, I had memories of using this powder, so I knew exactly what type of skin tone I could and could not use it on. So the lessons that I learned from this little powder was worth it, and exactly why I still keep it in my personal collection. And with that being everything that's on the top of this first shelf, I might just put all this up, go to the top of the second shelf and bring that down, and we'll talk about that before we get inside. Okay, I've now brought down everything that was on top of the second rack here. And for starters, we have 3 different jars here of the Sasha Cosmetics Buttercup Powder. These 3 here, she only sells them, I believe, in 3 different shades. I mean, it's a universal translucent powder and then 2 banana shades. This first one here is called Buttercup. This is the darkest, deepest one. I remember this one took off on YouTube from the recommendation of Jackie Aina. Once she said it, baby, you couldn't find it on Amazon, you couldn't find it on eBay. Everybody bought that bad boy up. I believe later on down the line they came out with this Sasha Buttercup Light Powder, which I honestly prefer a little more on my skin tone, especially for brightening underneath the eye when I'm baking. I generally prefer this Buttercup Light. But then, just like with the Nars powder, whenever I want my own shade and I'm tired of waiting on the brand to come out with one, once my jar gets empty, I'll refill it, and that's why on the bottom of this one it says mix, because I know this is a 50-50 mix of the original 2 colors. So I would more than likely call this Double Buttercup Light, but I see I put the mix on there, so we're just gonna call it that today. This next powder is a powder I never even got the chance to use. This is the KVD Vegan Beauty Lock It Brightening Powder in the shade Golden. I remember I wanted it when it first came out, and the price didn't scare me until I saw this tiny little container of powder and realized I don't care what you call a powder, I'm using it as a powder, and it's not just going to be underneath the eye. I'm going to bake my whole highlighted area, honey, and I'm going to run through this little powder real fast. So I didn't get it until it went on clearance, and by then I was already, secured in my routine. So we're going to try it again one day because I have no idea what this looks like, and I don't even think I ever took the seal off of it. Nope, still sitting there. But we got her, so we're going to go ahead and use her one day. Same thing with the Sephora one, baby. I'm someone with oily skin. I'm someone who's obsessed with baking. I understand it can add extra texture to the skin, but I'm willing to go for that. It's just my personal preference in makeup, and that's why I have the Sephora Bright Set Loose Finishing Powder. Once again, more than likely, I was just either on a baking trend just looking for powders or just seeing one on sale and I can't get enough of them. So this one here is in the shade 01 Banana. Still got the sale on this because I haven't tested her out yet. But we need to hurry up and try that because Sephora good for discontinuing the product.
Next up are my Galan Meteorites. And honey, I did not understand the hype behind this product. I truly did not care for the hype behind it. And truth be told, no matter how good any product is, if you can't stand to use it, it doesn't matter. And this is a very beautiful product. You see, I keep looking at it because I'm trying to make sure that's not a scuff on my container. Okay, it's not. It wiped off. I was about to be, whoo, girl, as much as I paid for this powder. I was about to say these pearls and then powder came out. But this is my Guerlain Meteorites. I have this in the shade 4 Door. And the reason I'm absolutely glad I got this powder, even though I don't use it, is because they've now shrunken the size of this container so it's much smaller. And I'm like, Brent, what is going on with the luxury brands, honey? Y'all supposed to be getting more expensive and better with time, not just shrinking sizes and all that. Just raise the price and leave us alone, honey. But Guerlain, I can't use this thing because it smells like, oh, oh, sweet, honey. I understand adding a little fragrance to something, but the smell of it smells like somebody's perfume broke in the bottom of their purse and they just shoved your face in there so you couldn't get no fresh air or anything. And although the smell isn't quite as strong when you put it on, just opening this jar, it has literally left a fragrance in this room. I promise you, if I was to invite somebody over and left this on the table, they would ask me if my grandmother just left. And it wouldn't be no shade, it's just like, this scent hasn't been around and been popular for quite a while. Like, nobody from my generation or lower, I don't even think someone in the generation above me would even do that. Like, no ma'am. She's a beautiful container, she's a beautiful powder, but if you can get past the scent, you would do it. But like most of us, you can't, nope. This one here is a Derma Blend Illuminating Banana Powder. Another powder I don't think I've ever even opened. It has a puff here, yup, nope. They had it on sale for half off during the Ultra 21 Days of Beauty, so I just bought one of all of them. This one here, Illuminating Banana Powder, has 18 grams. Never tried her. Might have to hurry up and do so because I have a bunch of these powders that I'm going to have to show off. And although most of my Derma Blend powders are on the 3rd row on the next one, this one just didn't have any more room, so I just pushed it up to the edge right here next to that one. But we're going to go ahead, put this back on the 2nd shelf, and then we'll be able to go ahead and get into some of these drawers. Now that I put everything back into those particular storage units, what I want to do is go ahead and open these drawers. First thing you'll notice is they all have a label on them here. Every single drawer has one. And these came, I believe, from Walmart. I'm not 100% of the name of these items here, but it's basically just sticky on half of it on one side. Each label comes with a different color of it. So I started off using all of the pink ones, and then I switched over to using the orange ones, simply because greens are my favorite, and I just wanted to make sure I saved those for last. The first drawer in the first cabinet has a label that says Nars, so it lets me know without even opening it, these are my Nars blush palettes in here. I know I would only keep this particular brand there. And these two palettes are the Unfiltered 1 and 2. I absolutely love these palettes. And the front one of the first one here, Unfiltered 1, has an orange label. Unfiltered 2 has this nice icy pink one. This is what Unfiltered 1 looks like. Beautiful for darker complexions. I was so happy that they did this with 2 different skin tones in mind and didn't just do 2 very fair ones or 2 very deep ones. It gave everyone a choice and a variety. And this is Unfiltered 2. I purchased both simply because I believe they both were beautiful. And at one point in time, I was using these 2 in my freelance kit, but they were easily kicked out by the next 2. I'm going to show you in the next drawer. This here is the second drawer, and it has the word Nars in there as well. And what is in these 2 are my Nars Wanted blush palettes. First off, get into those packagings, honey. That right there alone already took the win for me. First up, we have the Nars Wanted 1 blush palette. This is what the inside looks like. Nice for very fair skin tones. I absolutely love the Nars blush formula, and I think you all are going to see that later on. You're going to see I love the Nars brand, honey. And I truly believe that even at the time when I purchased these, The Nars Wanted Eyeshadow Palette was my favorite Nars palette at the time as well, so it was hard not to get this whole collection. This is what the Wanted 2 palette looks like on the outside. Absolutely stunning, but the inside is my favorite. Baby, look at that variety. You don't know how many clients I have done using this palette, honey. It was an absolute favorite every time I used it. And once I stopped using it, it went right into my personal collection. I had to have it here. This next drawer is drawer 3 and it says MAC. And this one is because I have MAC bronzing powders in here. First bronzer is from the MAC and Fruit A La La collection. You all see that MAC Fix Plus bottle from that collection in almost every video. But this was the bronzing powder and I got it simply because I wanted the packaging. I didn't care if the color was a match, and I don't even think I tested out to find out if it is. But the color in here is Refined Golden. And I believe that is one of their cult classic colors now. And oh yeah, it looks like I swirled it because I can see exactly where my finger would have swirled right here. But considering there's no texture or use on the other areas, I've never put this actually on my skin. But I bought it just to have the Fruit A La La packaging here. And I am completely lost for words right now. I can't remember exactly what the collection was for this, but I remember this purple packaging simply because my absolute favorite matte gloss from them that I showed you earlier was in this collection. So I wanted as much as I could from them. And the fact that the Extra Dimension Skin Finish is my favorite formula from them, there was no way they were going to come out with this and I not grab it. And so the fact that I had no idea they even did the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula and a bronzing powder, I had to get it. And that is in the shade Delphic. She is absolutely beautiful. The fact that she still has the letters engraved in them, even though I used to use this all the time, is still absolutely amazing to me. I love the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula. You can't tell me anything wrong about it. And so now that I have this here, it makes me wonder why I still buy holiday palettes from MAC and the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula, because this here was absolutely beautiful and I enjoyed it every time I used it. And simply because I was a sucker and it had the same kind of packaging, I kept telling myself that year when I was on a bronzer hunt, you're going to need a bronzer from them in the normal formula. So it has the same purple packaging here as the last one, but this one is in the shade Baina Bronze. And this here was in their normal bronzer formula. So I wanted to test them out to see if I would needed a regular one or that Extra Dimension one. And although this is probably much more practical, I was just obsessed with the shine on the other one. So I've used that much more. It shows I've swirled across this with my finger, which is why it has that indentation there. But I don't see any brush marks. So more than likely I probably never actually used it. Drawer number 4 says MAC as well. And for this one, these are all powders. None of them actually say that they're like a setting powder or a highlighting powder, but they all have some type of glow or shine to them. So more than likely you can use them as a highlighter. And that's more than likely what I would use them for, because none of them are exactly my color where I can use them for anything else. That first one, once again, got me caught up in that collection. I just had to have every piece of it. This one here is considered a Pearl Matte Face Powder, and it's in the shade Mother of Pearl. This is what she looks like, and as you can see, considering she has some purple to her, she got some yellow and some brown, everybody decided to just use this as a blush. Most people didn't see how this would be used as a highlighter. You surely wasn't about to use it as a face powder. So everybody just used this as a blush, and it was just always, everybody wanted to know exactly what color does it look, what color does it turn. But I think by MAC not saying that or not telling us that is exactly what helped sell it for those of us who was curious enough to buy it to find out. This next compact here is an iridescent powder. I purchased this to make sure I could support Justine Skye, but many of us really felt as if this was a rush collab because this has absolutely nothing of Justine on it besides the sticker on the back that says it's in the shade Justine Skye. We were all hoping for a purple compact or to have her name across it or something, but I still wanted to make sure I supported Justine, so I made sure I grabbed this. And as you can see, this is a purple powder, and I knew it was going to be that color, but we really wish they could have like engraved her name in it or put her name on the packaging or something like that. But with this being purple, most times I use this as a highlighter on the face and things like that whenever I'm going for a dramatic look, or I can use this as an inner corner highlight. But being purple, I surely can't use it as a face powder. For this next one here, this was with a MAC holiday collection, and I purchased this one simply because as far as lipstick bullets and things like that go, I truly believe this pattern that MAC has done is the most beautiful across the board. And I remember saying that when I saw this first piece like this, and then right after that, MAC and Patrick Star redid their collab and they did this in a red packaging. I've already said, if for any reason I get to do a collab with MAC, I want this packaging in a different color. I'm not sure which color I would get, but I thought this compact was just so pretty that I had to have it. And I also got several of the lipsticks in this one because it was just absolutely stunning. What this is, it's just called an opalescent face powder in the shade Happily Go Dazzling. But she's honestly a really pretty highlighter. It has a snowflake engraved in it. I've worn it. It's really, really nice. So I was absolutely stunned because I was just happy with the beautiful packaging. But to get a formula you really like, couldn't beat it. So I had to grab that. Drawer number 5 says MAC Extra Dimension. And that lets me know these are Extra Dimension Skin Finish highlighters in these. I absolutely love them. I know that more than likely I will never use these colors here because I don't see what the shade is for. They're more than likely not going to be flattering on my skin tone, and I bought them just for the packaging because they were beautiful. This is what the first one looks like. It's called Postmodernistic Peach, and as you can see, it just has this weird design to it, but I found it absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to make sure I can get you to see it without blinding you in the camera, but it came with that clear packaging that many people didn't like, but it was the highlighter that I was interested in. And truth be told, I really need to use this one because this is the one that's really catching my eye, but I do not want to mess up that design. Just stuck in between the two. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do, but if I ever use it, I'll let you know. This is the second one that came in that collection, and I completely cannot say the full name of this, so I'm going to just say the first part, which is Hot Damoiselle. And it looks like this is a dual chrome one. But more than likely, I would only be able to use this as probably like a blush topper. She's absolutely beautiful. And because, as you can see here, I'm not sure exactly where to go with that color. I haven't gone anywhere with it. And it just sits here and it sits beautifully. So we're just going to put her back to mind her business. This last compact is just in a plain silver one. And I grabbed this one because it's in the shade Snow Flushed. One year, MAC did some Extra Dimension Skin Finish eyeshadows. And one particular shade sold out like that. I'm telling you, it was gone, gone, gone. And the fans complained so much because it was just this beautiful rose gold to gold shift. It was so shiny, it was so sparkly. The following year, MAC came out with this highlighter. And when all of us realized it was a near dead on dupe for that eyeshadow, you realize you can get this ginormous highlighter and have way more product. And to me, it was a win-win. I missed out on the one the year before, and with this one, I know this is big enough that I'll never run out of this. I could wear this every day for a year and still never hit half of this thing. So I absolutely love that I have the Snow Flush, especially since I missed it the year before. Tray 6 says MAC, so it lets me know this is going to be MAC in here. And since the last one said Extra Dimension, more than likely all of these that are coming up are going to have the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula. These next 3 are highlighters. These are the 3 that I kept in my personal collection because I didn't feel as if I need them in my freelance kit because they all have some type of shift to them. This first one here is called Soft Frost. I believe this has like a white to lavender shift. And although I find it very beautiful, there was never going to be a point in time where I needed to carry this large thing here just to use it occasionally, so I just never put it in my kit. This next one here is called Show Gold. This once again is another one. I believe this is like a peachy pink and it shifts, so there was never a point to put it in my kit knowing that I would never rarely use it. So I just put it in my personal area here, and I love it on those days where I don't want to do eyeshadow, but I really want to have some glam going on. This last one is called Beaming Blush. Same thing as the one before. It's a pretty color, but nothing that we can wear on a daily basis, so it's nothing that I carry with me. Last here in tray number 7, once again we have the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula, but in here we have 1 face palette and 4 blushes. For the face palette, this is the MAC Shiny Pretty Things collection. This was from holiday, I believe 2, if not 3 years ago. This palette is in the shade Medium Deep. And this may be my most used and most traveled face palette simply because I love the MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula. And this comes with a highlighter, a blush, and a bronzer. And I can use all 3 shades in this palette. And with that being said, there's no reason to take 3 different compacts knowing all 3 of these will work. I personally would have preferred if they'd have put my favorite Old Darling highlighter in here, but I'm not mad at it. I'm truly not mad. I love it and I take it with me all the time. The next 4 are blushes. This one here is in the shade Cheeky Bits. I love these blushes because they're very glowy. They also give you a nice amount of color. So if you're someone who's very shy with blushes, I would either try to get one of their very lightest shades of this formula or avoid this formula altogether. But because I love the buildable glow and the buildable color, I have 4 of these bad babies. Once again, this is the shade Cheeky Bits. This one here is in the shade that I use the absolute most. This is in Sweets for My Sweets. I love this shade. I really wish they could put this in a much larger pan just so I could have even more fun swirling my brush around. But this shade here, Sweets for My Sweets, my absolute favorite. Use it the absolute most. Never gonna get rid of it. Shade number 3 is Rosy Cheeks, and although it's not the darkest color, it is definitely the loudest. Baby, if you wear this one, you definitely ask to be seen. And honey, on the days I do, I make sure my makeup stands out. Make sure I wear this when I have to wear a face mask so you still see her popping. And this last shade here is called Wrapped Candy. I more than likely grabbed this just because I like the name, because I'm really not the biggest fan of purple blushes on my complexion. If I put it on wrong, it can really look like a bruise, and we're not trying to look like we just got hit in the face. Okay, that's the last one on this one, so we're about to go ahead and switch over to the other one. For cabinet number 2, as you can see, all 7 shelves have the word blush on them. And that is because before I got into eyeshadow, blush was my poison of choice. I knew for sure it didn't matter what the brand was, it didn't matter who recommended it. If you told me you had a beautiful blush for sale, I wanted it. I wanted every blush my pocket could afford. So I'm going to go ahead and start off showing you the ones on top. And those are going to be these particular blushes here that I couldn't find anywhere to place. And honestly, I see why. All of these are old favorites that I either A, wanted to use soon or didn't want anybody else to use. First off, we have my little kitty blush. Oh my goodness, honey. Look at this little Paul and Joe blush, honey. She is in the shade 109 and I absolutely love it. I still keep the kitty collar on it. As well as in this container we have the cat's paw brush that you're supposed to use with it. Never took it out because I am never going to use it. Once you take this off, bam. And I am so upset because over the years I have gone in and disinfected it just to make sure that it doesn't grow mold or anything like that. And it used to have these little white hearts all over it, but I forgot the first time I tried to use it, I was going to try to pat across it. Most of those came straight off, but we still have one of them right here. Every time I disinfect this thing, I am so afraid that it's going to fade more and more and more. But I believe this color for the kitten is all the way through. So luckily that should stay no matter how many times I use or disinfect it. And look how they even got hearts on the inside of the top. Like, come on, honey. This is something that they should have kept as permanent, but I believe this was limited edition. Because I went online the other day to see if they still had it. And I think somebody was trying to sell one of these bad boys for like $130. I'm like, boy, be gone. The next 2 items in here are my Clinique Cheek Pop blushes. I used to think this was the best blush formula on the planet. This first one here is number 7, Cola Pop. This is a dark color, but as someone who absolutely loves blush, you could not tell me nothing about it. And in fact that it looks like it has that little sunflower on the inside, I absolutely could not get enough. But this is one of those colors where you have to go in very slowly, you have to build it up, or you can risk looking like you got hit. And because this was such a nice baked gelée formula where you had to build it up, I absolutely loved it. But my favorite one was this one here, number 17, Black Honey Pop. Not only did I like that name, Black Honey, you can tell the sunflower on this one done been through many more harder days than that other one because he barely showing his sunflower. I used to use this blush every single day. Every single day. I absolutely love it. Not sure if it's even still good, but I know I'm not going to get rid of it till I buy another one. The next 3 blushes are Bare Minerals, but only 2 of them are from, no, they're all 3 different formulas. Oh, I'm surprised. This first one is the Gen Nude Powder Blush, and You Had Me at Merlot. I bought it simply because I like that name. I know it's a pun, but I had to grab it. But the Gen Nude liquid lipsticks used to be my absolute favorite. So when they came out with those, I just wanted to try the entire Gen Nude collection. This is the only blush I believe I grabbed from the brand for that. It was nice, but it wasn't nothing to, write home about. So I only have this one shade here. But absolutely love it. Did I just say it was alright and then switch over to absolutely love it? Baby, I'm just talking. This next one is from Bare Minerals as well. It is in the Bounce and Blur formula. And I've never tried this formula yet. It's called Mauve Sunrise. And she just looked like a nice cushion blush type formula. So I'm going to also be double checking to see how long this formula lasts. Because with cushion items, they either give you a really nice longevity or they can dry up on you really quickly. So although we haven't tested it out, on the back it says it has a 12-month shelf life. So I'm quite sure I'll get to it before the end. This last blush is an individual loose blush from Bare Minerals. This appears to be a miniature, and the reason I have this one up here is because there was no more room in my blush drawer for Bare Minerals, and with this one being called First Class and being a miniature, I figured I could go ahead and put them in the first drawer. So this one is up here because there's nowhere else to put her. In the second drawer, as with all of them in the second cabinet, it says blush, but this is where my Bare Minerals blushes start, and there I keep them stacked just like this. There is normally another blush that would fit right here, but I have this in a different area. I'll be able to show you exactly where it is later. But this would normally hold, let me see, 4, 8, 11 blushes. And in here I have 10. I want to see if I can tilt this up good enough for you to see it. And it appears I'll be able to show you the 10 of the 11 that would normally be in here. Left to right, I just keep them in alphabetical order. I have this one here in Beauty, Charm, First Rose, Flirt, Fruit Cocktail, Ignite, Luminary, Peekaboo. I got one missing right here. Tickled, Your Highness. Absolutely love these. Just keep these in here. I think the ones I bought simply just because they were just a loud color is this one here, Fruit Cocktail. You could just look and see just how loud purpley pink that is. With a name like Fruit Cocktail and a bold color like that, I had to grab her for my collection. For this third drawer, we have blushes from IT Cosmetics. At one point in time, I used to absolutely love them just because I truly thought they made the most pigmented blushes on the market. It was nothing to go to 0 from 100 with these. And I was just wondering how and why other people love to use them if it was that easy to be mistake proof. But then I had to remind myself, you sitting here loving and using them, so how you gonna question somebody else's? So I'm going to show you what these are. And with this, we have 7 different blushes. This top row here has the Vitality Cheek Flush formula. These bottom 3 here are the Ombre Radiance formula from their CC Plus collection. This first one here is in the shade Matte Sweet Apple. And I really had to grab this one because before this shade, all of them were at least satin to shimmery. So for them to finally do a matte color, I had to have it. I didn't care what shade it was going to be. This second shade here is called Pretty and Peony, and I absolutely love this one. I believe they have a cult classic shade called Pretty and Pink, so to have a play on that was the shade I knew I had to get because I knew it would be a natural shade that would go against my skin tone. This next shade here is called Radiant in Rose, and I absolutely love this one too. It's a nice neutral shade, and I'm just not noticing that when I hold this from this angle here, I get a much better view on the camera. So I'm going to be truly upset if this whole time I've been recording and been out of focus and you all couldn't even see anything. But we're going to find out during editing. This last shade here is called Magical in Mauve. Once again, I'm not a big fan of purple shade blushes, but because it was the only one in the formula that I did not have, I wanted to be a completionist and I grabbed that as well. This next blush here is in their Ombre Radiance formula. This one here is in the cult classic Je ne sais quoi. I believe they use this shade just like the Pretty in Pink. This is their universal pink shade. And as you can see, the ombre starts on one color and works its way to another. And they do this for all of the compact colors in this line. This next one here is in the color Coral Flush, and I absolutely love this one here. This is probably the one that I've used the absolute most. This last shade here is Sugar Plum, and this is one that I've never used simply because it is a purple shade, but I wanted to make sure I have something for darker complexions. Right here is drawer number 4, and inside of here I have all of my Lorac and my Urban Decay blushes. This one here is the blush palette on top, but as you can see, I have 6 different colors underneath. These are all in their Afterglow 8-hour formula. For the 2 Lorac blushes here, these are in their Buildable Blush formula. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the Lorac blush palette first, and then work from Lorac over to Urban Decay. This palette here is the Lorac Unzipped Cheek palette. Although I've always listed after the Lorac eye palettes, I've never grabbed them. And I grabbed this simply because it has 2 shades in here. This one called Unapologetic, something that gave me a Rihanna reference, as well as this one here, Underrated. I just remember she has an album called R-Rated, and that was close enough for me. All I had to do was take these first few letters off, and it looked like R-Rated to me. So I was like, thank you, we taking this home. Hardly ever use it, but I have it. This next blush is from Lorac. This is in the shade Vivid, and as you can see, it's a nice vivid pink shade. I used to use these on a daily basis when I first got them. I would rotate between this lighter shade and a darker shade. I would always start off putting this one on first and then going in with the next one to get up to the color that I would like. This next blush here is in the shade Infrared, and although it does appear to have a gouge in it, I didn't just do that. I accidentally did that in the past. But I used to love this blush formula here. This color was way too dark for me to use straight up back in the day. Today I wouldn't mind trying it, but back then I needed something softer, which is why I have this pair. The next 6 blushes are from Urban Decay, and I got these, one, simply because they went on sale, and I just wanted a wide variety of them. I just really wasn't willing to pay full price for them. Now that I have them, I'm really glad that I do, because the shelf life on these was already 2 years, but they've taken me way past that, so I would not mind repurchasing these. This first one is much too light and neutral for me, but I still use it. It's in the shade Rapture, and I got this simply for the singer Anita Baker. This next blush is a nice, very hot pink shade. It's called Quickie, and I got it simply because I knew it would be nothing but quick to put this blush on. Either you were going to get it on and it was going to be beautiful, or it was going to make a huge mess extremely fast. So I grabbed this shade. This red shade I grabbed simply because I had never seen anyone do something quite like it, especially to have it in their full-time range. So as soon as I saw this shade Quiver, I absolutely had to grab it. There was no doubt in my mind. I wanted this bold, bold, bold color. This next shade is a color that is far too light for me. But with the name like Fetish, I absolutely had to have it. There's no doubt about it. I got it simply for the name. This next blush here is a very nice warm pink shade. It's in the shade Crush. So I just got it simply because I believe this was the darkest pink that they had in the collection at the time. This last shade here is in the color Bittersweet. It's a very vibrant purple shade, and that's the reason I got it. Although I know purple can look like a bruise on me. Back then, I wanted any and every color I can get a hold of, and Urban Decay was the brand to do that with, so this shade Bittersweet had to come home with me. Here in drawer number 5, we start off with our Nars blushes. Although this cabinet can hold 12 blushes, there are 11 in here. 9 are full size and 2 are minis, and I'm going to go ahead and show you these, starting off with the miniatures, then the full sizes. I believe they're all in alphabetical order, so we should be able to go in that order. This first blush is in the shade Gulu. This was, I believe, a birthday gift from Sephora, so I didn't see any reason to purchase the full size. I'm someone who's willing to work my brush around in something that's free, then go out and pay the full price for one. So I have this shade here. This second miniature is in the shade Orgasm. Once again, since you're going to give it to me for free in this mini, I'm not about to pay my money to go get the full size until this thing runs out. And as we know, as you can see, when's she running out? Considering she a little too light for my skin tone, can I wear her? Yes. Do I prefer a darker color? Yes, which is why she's still here. Just want to put an advisory out here. If you're not the biggest fan of, we'll just say, unpleasant words, you might not want to listen to the rest of these Nars blushes. They are infamous for beautiful formulas and ugly names. This first blush is in the shade Blissful. The second blush is in the shade Bumpy Ride. This third shade is one of the cult classics. It's in the shade Deep Throat. This one here is in the shade Misconduct. This particular one is my absolute favorite from the Nars brand. This is in the shade Peep Show. And I am so upset that this was limited edition, but this was the prettiest color of them all to me. This shade here is in the shade Seduction. It's a nice mauvey purple shade. And I get it simply for the name because you know purple doesn't do it for me as a blush color. This blush here is in the shade Sin. And I'm not even sure exactly where I would wear this color because I'm not sure if it would even be flattering on my skin tone. This shade here is in Super Orgasm. And although I like the color of this one better than the original Orgasm, I really wish that the gold flecks that they put in this one wasn't quite as large and chunky because it just seems like it falls off the face. It really doesn't adhere. So I just wish Super Orgasm was darker and not just chunkier. This lash blush is one that I've never used, and it's in the shade Threesome, simply because it is way too pale for me and I don't see where I would use it. Here in drawer 6, we have a combination of things. We have 3 MAC blushes, 2 KKW Beauty blushes, and 1 from Too Faced. This first blush here is in the shade Blunt, and I grabbed this simply because it was a recommendation from the lady behind the counter. I was just looking to build my collection, and she showed me that I had a bunch of different bold colors like oranges, pinks, and purples, but I didn't really have any neutral shades, so she recommended this shade here and the next one I'm going to show you. She also recommended this blush as well. This is in the cult classic Raisin. I did not have it and I did not know the hype around it, but after my very first time using it, never could go without it. This is something I'm going to use, continue to use, and repurchase, and it really looks good on people with a darker complexion than myself. But she's absolutely stunning. This blush here I got not only for the beautiful packaging, I mean look at that gold there. This was from the Rossi De Palma collection. I absolutely love, like I said, the packaging. But this shade here, Red Envy, I just never recall seeing something like this from MAC, so I absolutely had to have it before they got rid of it. Glad I did. I have 2 blushes here from KKW Beauty, and although I was 50-50 on the packaging because to me I thought it was cute, but I really thought it looked and felt a little cheap. But this one here is in the shade Very Graceful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Because I'm a little darker, you do have to build this up a little bit, but I was truly disappointed because this was from the KKW and Mario collab, and mine broke the first time I used it. The hinge right here is cracked, honey. Let me see if I can show you that. Like, you see how you can lift that up right there? That is broken, honey, and so was my heart and my feelings when it did that. So I've been extra careful with the second one here. This one is in the shade Flower Wall. I believe this was from the Mrs. West collection. Still haven't used this one yet, but I make sure I move slowly with it because I do not want it to break like my KKW and Mario one. The last blush in this one here is from the Too Faced collection. This was in the Sweetheart's Perfect Flush blush. I never thought I would see the day that the brand was even talking about getting rid of these because at one point in time, these were all the rage. As you can see, I just grabbed the loudest one I can get. I wasn't even worried about it being complimentary to my skin tone because I always just more than likely looked at it. I did use it a few days, but I just thought it was so pretty that I had to have one because everyone else did. And considering you can use those 3 colors individually, it was nice, but I always just swirled my brush around and got it going. Oop, and I'm trying to be careful with this one because this is the last drawer in here, drawer number 7. And it appears my Cover XX blushes are sliding. I also have a Sigma one in here and 2 Hourglass. So we're going to set this down and I'll show you the insides. This first compact is in a really large loud one. It is in the shade Sigma Pink. It's an Aurora powder. And this was sent as a free gift with purchase. And as you can see how big, bold, and loud that is, honey. What was I ever going to do with this? I tried it and honey, she just as loud as she look. You got to put something underneath or on top of this, honey. Not go in with your regular blush brush and think you about to just blend this out and she gonna look natural, honey. She just as loud as she appears. The next 2 are from Cover FX. These are from the monochromatic blush duos. This one is in the shade Mojave Mauve. And as you can see, you get 1 matte side, 1 shimmery side. I've tried them before, but they weren't something so spectacular that I, wanted to go ahead and make sure I use them a second time. But they are beautiful. I recommend catching them on Ulta when they have a 50% off sale because that's when I grab mine. They also have them in a in a bronzer formula, but I never seem to be able to catch those. Those always sell out before I can get to them. The other shade I have in that same formula is the shade Pink Dahlia. Same thing, one matte, one shimmery side. Nice formula, but nothing so amazing that I wanted to go ahead and make sure I used it a second day in a row. And with these next two blushes, these are the ambient lighting blushes from Hourglass. Although I truly love these formulas, I'm always upset at the fact that I could never get a blush palette every time they sell them because they always make them in shades that I just cannot use. So I always end up just waiting for an individual to come out and purchasing that. This one here is in Radiant Magenta. She's absolutely beautiful, but I just wish one year they would do a deeper complected blush palette and highlighter palette so that people that are way darker than me could actually use it. But until then, it seems like you're just gonna have to buy singles or just try to make other ones work. But I'm not gonna try to make no makeup work, honey. Either you work or you don't. But this is in Radiant Magenta. Absolutely beautiful. I probably wear that one more often, but the one I actually like a little bit more is this one here in Diffused Heat. And look at her, sis. Like, get into this diffused heat. She is absolutely stunning, honey, and there's just no way I was not going to grab this. The day I saw it, I had to have it. It almost reminds me of the Year of the Pig one, but that's one that I missed out on just because my coins wasn't up just yet. And that is the last one in this drawer, so I'm about to cut the camera off, switch over, and then we'll go to the last cabinet, and you can see the last two drawers in here. Alright, we are back, and we are in the last section of this area here. This is section 9 of 9. For this 3-pan cabinet, remember we have 3 layers and 3 sections, and we're going to start off the same thing with these last 4. We're going to show you everything that is on top because there is actually powders on top of these 2 as well. So I'm going to pull everything down from shelf 3, show you those, and then we'll do shelf 4. I tried my best to get them into focus, but it doesn't appear that there's enough space for there. But for the first 2, we have the Dermablend Loose Setting Powders. I purchased these during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty half off sale. Just like with that illuminating powder, because that was the last one up against the edges of those. This is the very first ones on the edge on this side, just to make sure that they can meet up. This first one here is the loose setting powder in the shade Original. I love the fact that it was half off, as well as the fact that you get a full ounce of powder. Many companies be trying to play with me. I'm like, honey, I have oily skin and I bake. I need that full ounce. So I have this here in Original. This here is the second jar that I have. This is in the shade Warm Saffron. More than likely, this is the shade closest to my skin tone. And I'm not 100% sure about this powder. I used it a few months ago, and around that same time as when I broke out with a terrible cyst on my face. And I wasn't sure if it was this powder or something wrong with my skincare or things like that, but it just made my skin break out so bad that I never went back to it. I'm honestly going to try it one more time just to see if it truly was this powder. But if I have any type of terrible reaction to it, not only will I never use it again, but I'm going to make sure I tell the world about it. But if she's good, I'll make sure I tell the world that as well. This next powder, although it looks like a salt and pepper shaker, this is the Original RCMA No Color Powder. I'm going to turn it to the side. You can see just how much of this powder I've used. Because if you need something that just works on any and every complexion, honey, it's a colorless powder that will get the job done for you. And with this powder being so affordable for so how much you get, because you get 3 ounces of product here, I really wish that I could just go into this factory and make a perfect skin tone color with this powder. I understand they have a no color one, but I just really want a flesh tone one. And this formula is amazing. The price, the amount. Anytime you're shopping on Beautylish, I would recommend just tossing this in your cart just to see what it's about. These next 2 powders are from Cover FX. This is their Perfect Setting Powder. Another powder that I got on the half off sale because I just didn't see it being worth the full price considering you only get 10 grams instead of a full ounce. I've heard many people say this was their holy grail powder, but for me, the amount truly does matter. And it only comes in 2 shades. This first one here is in the shade Translucent Light, which is a little too light for me. So I knew I was always going to have to buy 2 of these anytime I wanted to use it. This second one here is in the shade Translucent Deep. And I always know I'm going to have to mix these 2 in order to get a good color. And to me, the formula just didn't remind me of anything that was so remarkable that once again, I wanted to make sure I grabbed another one. So I still have these, but I doubt if I would ever repurchase. These last two powders, I'm not sure if you can still get them. I know they are no longer available on the Ulta website or in Ulta stores, but at one point in time, you could find the brand Fiona Styles. They had their own section in the Ulta stores, and I purchased some of everything from the brand, especially when they went on clearance. Baby, you couldn't keep me away from them. And I had many more colors of this, but these are the only two that I've kept over the years. This is the Invisible Finish Loose Setting Powder. I have them in the shade Sorrento, which they recommended for foundation shades 5 and 6. And I also have it here in the shade Amalfi, which was for the shade 7 and 8. Remember back in the day when I used to do my baking, one color for underneath the eyes, another color for the rest of the face. So I kept these two, and I had every color that they released simply because things were so affordable. I felt like I was on a shopping spree when I was on that rack. And with that being all the items that was on shelf 3, I'm going to go ahead and grab number 4 and pull everything down and switch them over. For storage unit number 4, the powders on top, I'm quite sure you may be able to tell, are my Laura Mercier powders. Baby, when it comes to powders, Laura Mercier does not play. I remember everybody saying she's the queen of powder, but I didn't know just how good she was because in the beginning, she didn't always offer things in a wide variety of skin tone shades. But now that she has, I've upgraded my formulas. And although this year they did a holiday collection with this particular cap on it, they did it in the original and the medium deep. My shade is the newest shade, the translucent honey. And so I swapped the caps because honey, if anybody gonna get the golden beautiful cap, it's gonna be me. And I was upset that the new honey shade wasn't in this holiday set. But Miss Mercier, we gonna need it for the next one. Luckily, I needed to refill my original, so that's why I was able to go ahead and purchase it, because otherwise I wasn't going to do it just for no cap. In the back, we have the 3 loose setting powders here. I have them in all 3 shades available. This first one is here in the shade Translucent. This one was from the holiday set that came with that rose gold cap, but I swapped it out with the original cap here simply because this shade is a little light for me. This second one here is in my personal favorite shade, Translucent Honey. And I swapped them out. Look at that beautiful shiny cap. Girl, yes, my shade gonna shine. My shade gonna stand out. And last but certainly not least, we have the Translucent Medium Deep. This is a powder that more than likely I would only be able to use on my contoured areas because it is so dark it would deepen up my complexion. But I'm so happy that they have this shade because for freelance, this was absolutely amazing. And this is a miniature size of the translucent original setting powder. And the reason I purchased the full size is because this miniature is about to run out, but I still have this over here to remind me to use this up before I open that full size. This powder here is the translucent powder in their glow formula. They have an original matte and then they have this glow in here. Once again, they started things off with translucent and added the medium deep, but because I realized honey is a much more flattering color, I have this mini here and I don't plan on purchasing the full size. I'm going to wait till they come out with that translucent honey in a full size and then I'll purchase that instead of having to mix the lightest and darker colors. But we have this miniature here. I don't think we've even tried it yet because I know it's not going to be my skin tone shade and I don't want to give it a bad review when I already know from the jump it's not going to work. This next powder up was a powder I was surprised to find out Laura Mercier made. This is their Invisible Loose Setting Powder in the shade Universal. And I was completely shocked to find out that they had a powder that had absolutely no color because the only thing I ever heard anyone talk about was the translucent powders. I haven't used this one yet, or if I did, I don't recall it, but I have this one here simply because I love colorless powders. These next 2 powders, and I held them like this just so you can see how small they are. This one here was a miniature and a free sample size. This one here is actually the full size product. These are their secret brightening powders from Laura Mercier, and this small one here is in the translucent that you can always get free with gift or purchase or things like that. This full size here is in the shade 2, which more than likely I believe they're going to consider their medium deep complexion. I cannot wait now that they've added the honey line to come out with a secret brightening powder that is in between these two. Considering they already have shades 1 and 2, they're probably going to name that one 1.5 or just rename them. But I want a translucent honey shade in the secret brightening powder because I want to see exactly what that looks like. With this one, it's much more closer to my skin tone. With this one, it's a little too light for me. So to have a shade that I know is going to fit perfectly It just has me excited for the future. But these are all of the powders and things that I have on the top. So when we come back, we're going to go into the drawers and we're going to start here with storage number 3. With storage number 3, you may notice a difference in them. They're still labeled, but here we start off with our orange labels and then we switch over to our yellow greeny color here. Remember, I told you I tried to use up all those pink ones before I went through anything, and it wasn't until I got through with those pink ones that I realized you're either going to have to switch colors or you're going to have to buy a whole new pack. So we said, no ma'am, we're just going to make sure they keep on going. And this first drawer here, it says is bronzers. And honey, this is going to bring back some memories because if you look here, we have Nars bronzers, but we have my very first bronzer that I hit pan on, the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. And not the one that they sell now, the OG formula, baby. So I can't wait to get to that. This first bronzer is in the Bye Bye Bye's Porous formula by It Cosmetics. It is their airbrush formula. You get 6.8 grams of it, and I purchased this simply because at the time I was a huge Bare Minerals fan, and the fact that someone else was doing loose powder just had me truly shocked, and the fact that it came with this little kabuki here, but as you can see, never used it. I had one, it came broken, and so I used that one in a different container. When they sent this replacement, never had to open it, never had to use it. To me, the color was much too red for my complexion, so I ended up giving that loose broken one to someone else, but I wanted to keep this one just for references because I absolutely loved and collected their brushes, and I wasn't going to pass up a bronzer. Back in the day, bronzer was the thing to wear. This bronzer here is from Lorac Cosmetics. This is in the shade Tan Lines. This is in their Tantalizing Buildable Bronzing Powder. I absolutely love this one. This actually used to be the bronzer that sat on my table when I very first started YouTube. This was the one I always kept by my side just in case I needed to add a little warmth to my skin. But I don't use her nearly as much, and I keep her just for sentimental reasons because this was one of the first bronzers I ever purchased. But honey, when I tell you, just seeing this little bad baby, to me, she looks just like a gold medal because this is my Too Faced Dark Chocolate Soleil bronzer. And back in the day, this was just my jam. Like, look at that, honey. When I tell you, I used this bad baby up so much. And when I first hit pan, I was just in utter shock because I never had used up a bronzer so much. I had once did it to a highlighter. I don't think I've ever gone through an entire eyeshadow. But to go through a bronzer like this made me feel so proud, honey. And they've changed the formula over the years, and I haven't used this in years, but more than likely, I'm going to test her out again before I throw her away. I ain't even going to lie to you. This next bronzer is in a shade that I used to absolutely love. This is the Nars Bronzing Powder in the shade Casino. It has very microfine particles of gold shimmer in this bronzer, and I truly thought that that would be unflattering on the skin. So for it to come out looking absolutely beautiful, I had to have it. I personally wish that they would take this formula and come out with 5 different full-time shades instead of always going back and forth between having 2 and adding 4, then having 2 and then adding 6. But this formula here seems to be one that they just hold on to, and this is also a shade that they always tend to have. And after I used up that Too Faced bronzer, my next favorite were these here. These are Nars bronzers. I remember when they first came out with these, all I saw was a Baked Chalet formula, and I had to have it. When I tell you, just like that Too Faced one, I went through and I used this bad baby up. Like, look at her. Used and abused, honey. I fell in love with this bronzer and had to use it every single day, whether I was going for a bronzy look or not. And I am so hurt because I truly believe that they've discontinued this formula, so it makes me weary of even wanting to use it again. I'm going to continue to search the internet to see if I can find another one because I absolutely love this formula. And this one is in the shade Casino as well. And I'm not 100% sure I'm saying this word right, but I believe this shade is called Phalluses. And I used this one here a few times, realized it was much too dark, and went in with that Casino shade. But I love the formula so much that I kept it just in case someone darker than me needed a bronzer if they came over. But I hardly use this, and considering the formula is gone now, I'm glad I have it. Next, in drawer 2, funny enough, there's only one item in here. This says concealer here, and there's only one loose concealer. This is from Bare Minerals. This is in the shade Summer Bisque. This is a shade that's a little too light for my skin tone, but I used to be able to go extra ham and go extra bright underneath my eyes because trust me, even with Bare Minerals, you can go over the top. But this is the only one in this collection here, probably because it's the only loose powder one. Usually my liquid and cream concealers are kept in a different area, so more than likely I would have never put anything else in here. But with that being the only thing in that drawer, we can go ahead and pop her back in and pull out this next one. The next one has a tab on it that says foundations. And of course inside are my Bare Minerals foundations. I used to absolutely love Bare Minerals. They were my favorite brand at one time. And it appears on the end there's a Laura Geller Baked and Balanced one. So this is probably a drawer full of things that I got from QVC. So we're going to go ahead and pull all 4 of those out. This first item here is the Bare Minerals Original Foundation. This one here is in my skin tone shade number 21 Golden Tan. I absolutely love this formula. I thought because I have oily skin that I would not be able to use the original formula because it is marketed to have a nice glow to it. But I'm telling you, honey, she's absolutely beautiful. This next foundation is Bare Minerals in their matte formula, and it was the Force formula I picked up. And I picked up this one because I have oily skin. This again is in the shade Original Tan, and as you can see, baby, she on struggle mode. It ain't much left in here. So I just had to do a double take because I'm wondering why did I say this was in my shade and then it didn't look familiar. These are in my old shade, shade 20 Golden Tan, and I never quite got the perfect color with these. They've since updated their shade range and they've come out with one slightly darker called number 21 Neutral Tan. And although this one is called Golden Tan, it has much more of a neutral tone. And the new Neutral Tan has much more of a golden undertone. It's slightly darker, slightly warmer. So these two are in shade 20, my old color. My current color is shade 21 Neutral Tan. I'm trying to show you the cap on this without blinding you. This is from their Blemish Remedy collection. I believe this was the one that they made for acne prone skin, so I had to get on that. It wasn't until after I purchased it that I realized, honey, if you want your skincare benefits, get them from your skincare, not your makeup. And this one here is in the shade Clearly Amber, shade number 10. This last foundation is in the shade Tan. This is from the Laura Geller's Baked, Balanced, and Brighten collection. I just purchased this simply because it was on sale, and at the time, just loose mineral or powder foundations was just my niche. So I preferred to look there. Don't even really think I've ever used this too often. As you can see, it's nearly an entire full pan of this, so I've barely ever used it. I'm not sure if it was just the formula of the color, but we still have it, and I guess we'll test it out at a later time to find out why. These last 4 are labeled powders, and with this first one, we have Bare Mineral powders, and I can see we have all type of things. This first one here is Glee. More than likely, I would use that as a blush. Here we have the Brightening Pearl Perfect Light Mineral Veil. Mineral Veil is Bare Minerals' version of a finishing powder. They have their original Mineral Veil here. The Tinted Mineral Veil here. This is the 5-in-1 BB Advanced Performance Mineral Veil. I absolutely love this one because it had that SPF 20 in it. This powder here was called A Little Sun. This is their version of a bronzer, as well as this miniature here called Warmth. This color here, True, is another one I would use as a blush. And then I have a very tiny miniature original veil here as well. I figured I still haven't gone through my full size, so there's no need to open up a mini. In this one here, we have 4 different powders from IT Cosmetics. Although this one here is in a Nars container because the container dropped and broke. And so I wanted to make sure I saved that powder. IT Cosmetics used to have an infomercial online where they were selling this kit. And I had to have it, and I had many friends who purchased it as well. If they liked it or didn't like it, I always made sure I tried to swap them out for their powders because I was obsessed with powders. It had a tiny little cap here that is very reflective. It only said IT Cosmetics. But as seen on the back, this was their Bye Bye Pores formula. I have it here in this shade Tan. I have one here in Rich. Actually, oh no, this isn't IT Cosmetics. This was from Bare Minerals. This was their Bare Skin formula. Wait. Oh, reading the label, I just corrected myself. This isn't an IT Cosmetics blush. This is a Bare Minerals blush. It says that this is the Bare Skin formula in Tan to Dark. So I must have had the wrong story about this. I was thinking it was the IT Cosmetics powder I broke. Turns out it was the Bare Minerals. My bad. And this powder here is also in the Bye Bye Pores formula. This one is in a full size though in their translucent shade. I don't recall if all of these powders ever came in full size in store, but I know you was able to go in store and get the translucent in full size. In drawer number 6, we have 3 more powders. The first 2 are from Lorac and the Perfection Baked Perfection powder. The last one is from Hourglass and their Ambient Lighting powder. For Lorac, it comes in the plain silver packaging. It's very reflective, but you can still see those white letters there. And I have this one here in the shade PF5. This is the one more than likely I would have used for underneath the eyes, as well as the shade 6, which more than likely I would have used all over the face. Next is the Hourglass powder. They seem to use this packaging across the board, so it's nothing special about this. But this is in the shade Radiant Light. I got this one simply because it appeared to be the best one to use underneath the eyes. I should have went back and got another color for the rest of the face, but I never really got into using this powder, so I never got into buying another one. This last one is full of MAC powders. These are the Mineralized Skin Finish. I have it in 3 different shades because at the time I bought 2 of them that were slightly too dark, so I had to go back in and get a powder that was lighter than those first 2 to make sure I can use them, and I'll show you those 3 colors. This first one is the color I would have used underneath the eyes, and this is the shade Medium Golden. If I wanted a much more natural effect, I could go in with this shade here. This is in Medium Tan. Once again, this is something I would have more than likely used in my highlighting areas or underneath the eyes. This powder here is in the shade Dark. This is the one I would have used all over the face. Now we are reaching for the last one, and these labels have switched over to that yellow-green color. And the first one here says Contour Highlighting Palettes, so it lets me know I can have either or. And considering how much is in this one, I'm going to set her down and then we'll show you what's inside. This first one here is from Sigma Beauty. This is from their holiday collection. This is the Rose Glow Cheek Duo. I used this in a video previously. This here has a highlighter in the shade Gilded as well as a blush in Cor de Rosa. And because I love the Cor de Rosa eyeshadow palette, I had to go ahead and pick this up. Not only that, it came with an amazing brush. So I recommend the brush more than I recommend this beautiful palette. Next, in your typical Nars packaging, I have a contour powder duo. This is in the shade Melina. And although I purchased it here, I don't even have memories of actually using it. So I know I actually have used it, but either A, the color wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, or the formula, but I really need to try this out again because this was way too expensive to let just sit in this drawer here. The next 2 are Ofra highlighters. I purchased this one here because it had not only my shade, but 3 other shades in it, and it is absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure if you can pick up all 4 colors there, but the 4 shades contained in it is Rodeo Drive, Blissful, Star Island, and Pillow Talk. Absolutely love this. I believe Rodeo Drive is my shade, but if you're going to give me 3 other ones for the price of one, there was no way I was going to pass this one up. This next one here is a pink duochrome highlighter. This is in the shade Cloud 9, and I bought this simply because I wanted to support Nikki Tutorials. She did one that had a pink shift as well as a blue shift, but I did not want to pay for that blue one simply because I didn't think it would be flattering. So I ended up getting that blue one on sale in a holiday palette, but not a holiday, in a face palette. But this one here, I was willing to purchase full price and I did not regret it. This next one was a Sephora face palette. I caught this on the clearance rack and was absolutely shocked that no one had been talking about it. When I tell you, it has 3 duochrome highlighters as well as 3 face blushes. And I believe this palette is safe for the face and the eyes. At least that's how I use it. Absolutely beautiful. And I think it was only $5. To me, if I were to drop it and they told me it would be $20 to replace it, they would have my money real fast because it's just that fabulous. I'm not seeing a name for it. Oh yes it is. It's called the Holographic Face and Cheek Palette. So it doesn't say anything about the eyes, but I've used it on the eyes. In this next drawer, we only have 3 items. We have 2 face palettes and a cream contour. 2 of them are from Anastasia Beverly Hills. That purple one in the middle is from Fiona Styles, so we'll start there. This palette here is from Fiona Styles. This is called their Sheer Sculpting Palette. And this is in the shade Medium Dark. As you can see, they call it Medium Dark, but I'm not sure how dark this is gonna go. I purchased it because it works on my skin tone, but I don't see a dark-skinned person being able to use this. I got it on a discount, but I think they really need to come out with like 2 more palettes that are much deeper than this. It's a beautiful formula, it's just not a beautiful shade range. Next up is a custom ABH palette. I made these with 6 different shades thinking I would have something that would complement my skin, not realizing I would probably never really use this because I didn't truly fall in love with any of them, not the contour or the highlighting shades. To me, the pans were a little too small for the brushes I used and the colors were just a little too off. But left to right on the first row, we have 10 Carat, which is a highlighter, Mellow Yellow, which was an under eye powder, and then the other 3 were contour powders. That top one on the right is the shade Earth. And then on the second row, left to right, we have Copper Brown, Espresso, and Carob. This last little item here is the stick foundation. It has the word contour on it, and this is in the shade Mink. See, I got it because it's a nice dark neutral to cool tone shade, so it'll be perfect for contouring. And according to the top of this, I've never used her. And just like that first one, that one said contour and highlighter palette. This third one here says loose highlighter, and so does the fourth one. And I know that says this because we're getting to my loose highlighters. This one has mostly Bare Minerals, but there is a Nars one here. There is a Laura Mercier as well as, no, this is Bare Minerals as well. My friend purchased the Orgasm Illuminating Powder and realized it was a shade that she would never be able to use up, but she didn't just want to give it away or sell it. So I just purchased and gave her half price for it. She gave me half of the highlighter. I put it into this empty Nars container, wrote the word orgasm on it. Now we're both happy. For this one here, this is the Laura Mercier Mineral Illuminating Powder in the shade Candlelight. I'm quite sure this more than likely came as a gift or purchase because I don't think I would have purchased a Laura Mercier Illuminating Powder considering the fact that I was so pressed on getting one of their press formulas that the idea of skipping over that to grab this just doesn't sound like it would make. And the rest of these are Bare Mineral powders. They all have shade names that have the word Radiance in it because that's what they called their powders. My favorite one, just simply because it's this tiniest one here, is this one here called Bare Radiance. I keep that one there just because he's a mini, but I have this pink tone one here called Rose Radiance. I have a peach one here called Clear Radiance. I have a gold one here called Flawless Radiance. A nice pink one here called Pure Radiance, but the one I think is absolutely beautiful is this one here called Gold Gossamer. I don't know why they discontinued this or didn't make more of them. But if you look at the cap here, you'll notice that's the old school cap from this brand. So more than likely when they changed up the packaging, they just got rid of some products. But I have this Gold Gossamer here and I'm never going to sell it, trade it, or be without it. This next drawer is actually an experiment. And the reason I call this an experiment is because one day I just took my Whisper of Guilt highlighter from MAC. I took a small disposable spoolie and just grinded it up into a fine powder because I wanted to see if I could get that formula into a fine mist powder. And once I did, I decided, okay, Torrence, you have way too much product. There's never a reason to have all of this. Find something else to do with it. And I went around and I just added a bunch of my other colors that I absolutely love from other formulas. And I did a 50-50 mixture of the MAC Whisper of Guilt with these highlighters here. And I put them in these containers to make sure that I knew exactly what they were. This one here, because I took them from Whisper of Guilt, I just switched the word guilt with the color that I got from that brand. So with this one being called Whisper of Addiction, I know this is a 50-50 mixture of Whisper of Guilt along with Laura Mercier's Addiction highlighter. You can see they all have around the same shade here. They may be a little bit different simply because of what I mixed them with, but most of these are going to be the same thing. This one here is called Whisper of Conceited because I mixed this with my Artist Couture Conceited loose highlighter. Wanted to see what that was like. This one here is called Whisper of Hollywood, and I have that one because I mixed it with the Anastasia Beverly Hills So Hollywood highlighter. I grinded some of that up because that was the first blinding highlighter I ever tried. Wanted to see what that was like. And this one here is called Whisper of Dreams. And I believe this is a mixture with the Becca Champagne Dreams Flashes Bellini, I believe, from their dual chrome highlighter line. That's my favorite dual chrome highlighter. So I wanted to see what that was like as well. And then inside, there's also this little press one. He looks like an eyeshadow. That's because I pressed it into that one. This one is called Whisper of Illuminati because when I first got with Artist Couture, I thought Illuminati was my shade. It wasn't until I saw someone wearing the shade Conceited and found out that's what they were wearing that I realized Conceited was a much more flattering color. But because I already had an Illuminati powder that was just already I used so much of it and the container was so dirty, I really wanted to toss it and purchase a new one. So before I did so, I mixed that in with this one and it was so beautiful in these formulas. And I'm like, with them both being so creamy and so nice, and with that MAC one already coming out of a press form, I wondered if I could spray a little alcohol and get it back into press form. And yes, I was able to do so because as you can see, she's there and she is blinded more than any eyeshadow. But I know this is going to be stunning because Artist Couture Illuminati is absolutely beautiful. Next up for our loose hiders, we're going to go down to drawer number 5, and this is for my Artist Couture as well as my Give Me Glow. As you can see here, most of these are loose highlighters because that's how they started off the brand, but they have eventually come up with a press one that I have. And I also believe their newest collab is going to have a press one. And this one here is my first and only highlighter from the brand Give Me Glow. My apologies, I think I said JD Glow the first time. This is Give Me Glow Cosmetics. And the reason I purchased this one is simply for the name, Champagne and Lilies. The idea that champagne sounds like an expensive drink to me, I'm not really the biggest fan of drinks that have bubbles and fizz to them. They just don't go down too easily for me. But lilies are my favorite flowers, so to name a shade Champagne and Lilies, I wanted it. But then to find out that this was the most flattering color on my skin tone, it was like a match made in heaven. Even if I couldn't afford it at the time, I knew I was purchasing this and paying shipping just to get just this instead of waiting until I had enough items to get. But I didn't want to wait. This was beautiful. I had to have it for the name and for the color, and it was no regret in this purchase. With this highlighter from Artist Couture, I want to be very careful with it. This is in the shade Hot Damn. This is from their Diamond Luxe collection. And I want to be careful because with this being a baked gelée formula, those items are usually baked or pressed into a netting that's underneath. The day I got this, it fell straight out of the netting. I'm talking flop. I had to hurry up, pick her up, disinfect her, put her to the side, and put her back. But because it sold out, I did not want to send it back, get my money back, and then just be without it. I figured I'd rather put this in my personal collection if I can't put it in my freelance kit. But truth be told, the formula is so glittery that I'm not really upset that I can't wear this on a daily basis, but I am happy that I have it. Next, for my Artist Couture ones, I have many of them here, and as you can see, most of the ones up here are all neutral shades. I have this nice bright light gold one here called Cocoa. I have this nice mid-tone one here called Yes. I have my large Illuminati, which is that nice golden shade here. But that one was just a tad bit too light for me. So you have this slightly darker shade here called Conceited, which is my shade. These bottom three were all purchased on sale because they are the dual chrome ones. You have this one that leans a nice blue-green called Mermaid Fantasy. I love it just because it has the name Mermaid in it. You have one that leans a nice purple here called Supernova. And you also have this one that leans a little pink called Broadway. Next up in drawer number 6, we have our Laura Gellers as well as our KKWs. So I'm definitely going to have to put this down because things are already slatting. First up from KKW is her Forever highlighter. I believe this one came from the Mrs. West collection. So I want to hurry up and get this going because it looks like my camera is letting me know things might be dying on us real quick. This next highlighter was from the Glitz and Glam collection, and I believe that's exactly what this one is called, is Glitz and Glam. This is a highlighter palette from Laura Geller. This one is the Dripping in Gold collection, and I got this because it came with 3 miniatures and it was on sale. As you can see, this is 3 neutral shades. It contains the shades Molten Copper and Gilded Honey on the top. Gilded Honey is a cult classic, and that's my personal favorite shade. As well as on the bottom, we have the shade French Fizz. I figured if I can get 3 for the price of 1, I would go ahead and jump on it. Next up, we have the Life Glows On palette. This is an illuminating palette. And as you can see, she's famous for those trios. We absolutely love them. These are more dual chrome, and left to right, we have the shade Opal Crush, French Fizz, which appears again. That one isn't dual chrome, but the one on the end, Diamond Dust, has a nice pink shift to it, and she's absolutely beautiful. This next one was from the Alanize collection. I'm not sure of his full name, but I remember just thinking, If a major brand is gonna not only collab with a male, but also collab with a male of color, I had to get it. This one is in the shade Tempting Topaz. Absolutely love it. And this also came with a gloss as well. The last 4 blushes are individual pans in her signature Baked Gelée Swirl Illuminator formula. This one here is in the shade Pixie Dust. This one here is in Peach Glow. This one here is in the cult classic and my personal favorite shade, Gilded Honey. And this last and final shade is in the shade Caramel Glow, which sounds so beautiful. And in our very last drawer, we appear to have 5 blushes, and I want to hurry up because my camera's letting me know I got about 3 minutes to get this over with. This first highlighter is in the Makeup Forever highlighter. This is in the Profusion formula. I bought this on the recommendation of Kimberly Clark during one of her anti-hauls. I have this in shade 2, and when I tell you, she is absolutely stunning. If you want something that looks natural but still gives you a tiny bit more glow than natural, she's the one for you. This next one may be the first, I would say, viral or like fan favorite one that I've ever purchased. This one here is from the Bronze Goddess collection. It's in the shade Heat Wave. And for Estee Lauder, this is something I don't think they could ever get rid of without causing a scene. I remember when I first heard about it, I was wondering what all the hype was about. But this shade here, she's like the closest thing I think to Oh Darling by MAC. And considering they're owned by the same company, who's to know if they're not using the same formula or not. This next one is from Laura Mercier. This is that Addiction highlighter that I was telling you about previously. And you can see exactly where I gouged it out with the spoolie to go ahead and get product for that other one, because you can see that netting underneath there. These last 2 are minis from Jouer. This first one here I got in a kit. This is in the shade Rose Gold. It's just a typical basic gold, but I believe it's a tiny bit too light for me. This other one is a nice dual chrome shade, and once again, I'm not sure if I could ever wear it, but it's in the shade Funfetti, and it looks like it has miniatures pink sparkles in it, but I wanted to go ahead and grab it, and because it looks like my camera's about to cut off, that's the end of this video. I want to say thank you to anyone who's watched. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you stay tuned for the next one, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and catch you next time. All right, and my camera is just letting me know I still have about 1 more minute left to record. I know I almost rushed out of that last exit, but I wanted to say thank you all for supporting the channel. I wanted to make sure that I got another clip of something else in the next video. I tried to put it into this video, but I really don't think it's gonna happen. Actually, give me 1 second. No race, hurry up, Torrence, you can get it done. Just wanted to show you all, my last package finally came through. ColourPop got 2 of the child palettes, so I'm going to be doing a review on one of them. I'm going to be adding this other one to the giveaway. Just wanted to make sure I was able to show you all. My camera's going to literally be dying in less than 20 seconds, so I just want to say I love you, thank you for supporting the channel, and stay tuned for this video and part 3 as well. Remember, continue to practice, stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye YouTube.